Good evening, everybody. It is time for some good old-fashioned NECC Overwatch. I'm, of course, Tiny Shiny, joined by two tryhard Ray. We're in week 3 now of our NECC Overwatch competition. We're just chugging right along here. We've had some excellent games come out in broadcasts, and we're very excited to continue to highlight the talent that's in this collegiate tournament, Ray.
Couldn't agree with you more. For our first match today, we will be going into Division 3, where we're going to have New Haven Chargers go up against Thomas College Black.
Yeah, two teams that we have a slight bit of familiarity with. Well, at least I do. Remember seeing New Haven Chargers compete in the ECC finals last season, and they unfortunately, while they did go home with second place, this is a team that was able to maintain a lot of that roster and has continued to kind of punch up and be in that Division 3 range, where as they look towards a Thomas College, ironically enough, Ray, if you want to go ahead and draw the connection here, Thomas College in week 1 beat that very team that New Haven lost that championship to not too long ago. So it's a stretch for sure, but it can give us a basis of a skill level that we're looking at here, especially once the meta has continued to transition and evolve. Division 3 will be very similar in that regard.
It should be extremely interesting given that New Haven and we know Thomas Black recently has beaten the team that beat New Haven, but New Haven has had an entire offseason to work and get better. As you mentioned, they've maintained a lot of the same players so they can build that cohesion and really get things right and going. And we're in week 3, so I'm sure a lot of these teams have a handle on what they like to play in each situation on different maps. So this is where we're going to start to see the real contenders start shaping and showing themselves.
Yeah, this is kind of like, you're past the warm-up season. You're like, your feet are wet, you're ready to dive into the pool, and these are kind of the games. You can't afford to lose too much more from here on out if you're looking to qualify, be the top of your division there. So that's kind of where teams need to start setting their sights. Along with your team getting better, though, so has everybody else around you, which makes this game all the more interesting, if you ask me. We get to take a look a little bit more at these rosters to see what we're looking out for today. A big player from University of New Haven Chargers, I want to point out, is I Love You 3000. I remember them specifically on that DPS, making such a difference in that particular role, and is going to be a great player to look out to really kind of step it up when the New Haven Chargers need it. We'll have to see what Thomas College Black can do to match it.
That's going to be the biggest question of the day. We don't get to highlight Division 3 as much, so I'm very excited to see, can the New Haven Chargers almost get revenge in a bi-directional way by beating Thomas College Black? Hey, we could have beaten Southern New Hampshire, so it's going to be really awesome. As we look at map number 1, it is going to be Ilios on control. We'll go to hybrid. As a little bit of a reminder, it goes hybrid escort for number 2, then push, then flashpoint/clash. So those are the orders, and then hybrid escort if we go to map number 5, which, I mean, last time me and you were on Tiny, we got 2 map 5, so who knows what we should expect.
I know, right? We've had a glorious week 1 in that ECC. Now we're back in week 3. I want that same sort of spark. I want that fire. Give me the game vibes, people. It is interesting to start off a series on Ilios. I have to say, Ray, I can't think of many teams that want to pick this map first. It's often just the odd one out, the forgotten middle child in some ways of the control maps.
I mean, legitimately, it tends to be the most dive-centric control map we have in the game. So given the meta we're in right now, when it comes to, like, well, and when it comes to, name's escaping me.
Lighthouse.
Well and Lighthouse. It's been a while since I casted Ilios, okay? Well and Lighthouse. Those ones are probably going to be Winston and Divas we're looking at because they're the 2 most popular dive tanks. I think Diva is still a little bit better, but Winston has been continuing to rise in pick rate, which makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like as things start to move back to the center, we all move back into a Winton Overwatch kind of scenario. No matter. But I think this map is going to showcase those things. It's when you go to Ruins, do the teams look to still play dive, or do they pull out some sort of a brawl?
There's not as much flexibility on this type of map compared to others. Like, I'm thinking Lijiang Tower, you got a dive map, you got a brawl map, and you got something that's somewhere in between, right? For Ilios, it's very dive-centric. You can run that pretty much anywhere. Odd one, a little bit more on Ruins. We won't have to worry about that for now, though, as it is the well to start us off. This one's always fun. Maybe you can get some fun little environmental eliminations with some Brig that's been played. The support line, for the most part, as of lately, Ray, has only been this Juno Brigida. So if what Monclover and Skylarkman are teasing right now, that could be a good change of pace here.
Yeah, they are going to go with more of a brawl style for this map. They're deciding to, you know, forget what you're supposed to do on this map. We're going to play what suits us best. And it could be interesting because we do see Knight highlighting over that Pharah right now. And going against an enemy diva, that's going to make Knight have to be that much more careful, because Aquilian should be able to do a lot tonight in those skies, as looks like both teams are going to go on the diva, but I'm going to favor the Brig Juno here over the Lucio Kiri.
I mean, Lucio's just not as good as of late. You can get caught out much easier. You don't have the same damage or healing output, nor the consistency with the speed ring. So New Haven Chargers, definitely from a compositional rank, starting from the behind here, Killer on the Venture, I could also argue, is not going to have too much fun trying to get close to any of these people who are just in the skies. And in fact, Knight, who goes down first to Pain, she's making a difference on this Juno. It is Killer, too, to come up more where we expected them once that flight dropped down to the low ground.
When it comes to the Brig Juno, you're going to have a lot more sustain, as well as between the two, your bookshelf on the Brig can protect Pain on the Juno, but Juno also can throw down a lot of damage with those weapons, especially to go after Knight in the sky. So it makes Knight playing the Pharah that much more difficult. They're going to have a tough time being able to do this. And then just the amount of damage we're getting from the
Killer!
Venture.
Oh, you just can't fight in a small room with a Venture. Oh, the only goal of this hero is to make your lives miserable in small spaces. You just give him Killer exactly what he wants to do on this particular hero. So New Haven Chargers need to be cautious about their approaching angles.
And Neon is just being able to take any angles they want right now from the skies, because the Chargers have to find a way in an angle to try and get themselves 40% already gained. No ultimates online for either team, so it's just about the fundamentals right now.
Yeah, this map, also, we're seeing another reason why it isn't picked too often. It's a very difficult map fundamentally. Dive is much harder to play in a lot of ways compared to like a Brawl or a Rush comp, and there isn't an option for that really on Ilios. It's a lot of niche picks and even like things like that. JR Raynor, you can't be committing onto a Pharah and expect not to get shot. You'll be paying with the first final blow of the fight for the second time in a row, and it seems that New Haven Chargers have really find themselves at a roadblock.
And they, you know, it'd be one thing, Tiny, if you were losing these fights, but you were dragging ultimates out. Thomas College has not used anything. They're about to have 5 ults. It's final fight territory, and New Haven doesn't have any of their support ults, but you did get Pain. That's a great first step.
It's going to have to lead to many more great steps. We're about to approach final fight territory. The Matrix onto the barrage not only keeps Neon alive, but also makes sure Knight gets nothing out of their ultimate. New Haven, one button after another. It just seems to be falling apart. Thomas College had so much of an advantage at the start of this map that the Chargers never got to open their mouths and say a word of fighting back. The final fight, last point of contest, but the numbers, the big old check marks that we see in the corner are just not looking too hot on the Chargers' end. It'll be a Thomas College Black clean fight win on Well.
I think it's a compositional difference. If you're going to play Diva, the Kiri Lucio just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, Tiny. It's like, you know, with Lucio Kiri, Lucio wants to, you know, engage and be more in those rush and brawl compositions. Like with the Diva, you already have the hyper mobility. You need something like the Juno Brig who can just throw packs at you when you get into LOS and allow you to be aggressive and do what you need to do.
Yeah, and it's so much more diveable. You don't get healed as fast. Like, you're quite literally going to feel more pain. No pun intended. I mean, Pain has also been putting in a ton of work for Thomas College Black in her own role with the Juno. New Haven are going to switch it up, though, keeping that support line, but I like the idea of this Orisa a little bit more. Perhaps frontline stability, making sure Monclover and Skylark Man can have a little bit more breathing room to try to live. You can't really do much if Neon's on the Widowmaker here.
Especially on a map like Ruins, where the brawl is going to be more welcomed on this map. So they have an ability to be able to whip this out, and the Lucio Kiri is definitely going to be better for the Orisa. I mean, the question is they just have to make sure they can get on top of some of these targets. You don't want to keep your distance with this Orisa.
No, like, I don't think I've seen Bookshelf or Pain take a significant amount of damage so far, and kudos to them for just having great positioning, ensuring New Haven Chargers can't get close, and you really can't. I mean, Neon is standing uncontested as a Widowmaker. You can't send anybody up to die. Like, really, the only one is Knight chucking rockets across the map, and it's pretty easy. First cap from Thomas College.
And that's the thing, with Neon and Killer coming from two different angles, you either got to go after one of these DPS or you have to get these supports who are sustaining them. Oh, that was close. But that's the big thing with Haven. They really didn't do anything. They kind of just stood on point, was hoping to cap it, and didn't really make any plans to go after anyone.
And that's kind of the thing, is Thomas College, they know how to defend. They're not going to just sit by and wait for New Haven to make a move. No, it'll be Thomas College coming after you instead. The Chargers have been, despite their name, pretty slow to engage. It's plays like this from Killer that just opened the door wide open. The Chargers aren't prepared for what's happening, and the DPS can just steamroll them.
I mean, that's 3 solo kills alone for Killer, and was able to basically help out and get the ace. Absolutely just disgusting. And the only ult they used was the sights from Neon. So, I mean, that's basically a nothing burger. They're going to have Knight go over to the Genji. I mean, I guess they're hoping to try and get more on top of these supports, or maybe on top of Neon on this Widow. I mean, it's a thought, but I'm just not sure if they have the follow-up to help out with it with the Lucio Kiri.
No, it's like, you get the Widow, sure, but what's next? You don't have that same level of sustain. You're limited in your resources, so you need to make this Kitsune Rush last while you still have it available. J. Raynor's way into the backline, had to use the Fortify, but then again, Monclover's down. Pain yet it finds another first final blow. Neon's there bringing up the broom for the rest, and Thomas College Black looks strong as ever.
And that's the thing, if you're going to go over to the Genji for Knight, I feel like you just can't allow Neon to free fire and find these kills time and time again. If you're the Genji and you see Neon has been going crazy with these headshots, why are you not getting in their face and trying to stop them?
And now you're going to find yourself in the same situation you did on Well. 1% left on this point. You got to just chuck bodies at it and hope for the best, and Monclover pays for it with his life. Knight finally gets an elimination on the Bookshelf. I believe that's the first time the Brig player has died in the entirety of the map here. New Haven Chargers, they're going to have to work with what they got right now, and it's not a tank, that's for sure. Aquilian is just running around doing everything. It's like the ultimate character of ADHD. Aquilian going back to peel for the teammates, chasing down any little dive hero, and Knight here. It's exactly what you want to see from a tank player such as this one, with Thomas College back cleanly finishing out Ilios.
And this is why I said the Diva composition is very good, despite the more popularity of the Winston coming into play. Diva is just absolutely ridiculous. The amount of damage you can deny with those defense matrix, and then just the amount of pressure you can put onto squishy targets with those micro missiles. And Quillian was doing a great job, but the entirety of Thomas Black, just, it feels like they're very confident in what they do. They have a plan, and they know exactly how to execute, and they're executing to perfection.
And I think that's the big difference, right? It's like, we can talk about compositions, we can talk about kind of these individual plays that come up. Cool, right? But at the end of the day, if you have a clean, firm plan with your team, you know how you're going to approach and really just completely halt any sort of rotation that the Chargers are doing before they're even ready to take a fight in the first place. Like, that's what's going to separate you at the end of it all once this dust starts to settle. And that's exactly what we've seen Thomas College do so far. There's barely a word that the Chargers were able to get in that entire round of Ilios. Didn't get a percent on the point, and really, we only saw about 5 total fights there.
I kid you not. I want to say between those two maps, there was only 1 kill from the side of New Haven. Like, I think it was only on that when they got aggressive on that defense on the first point, they lost someone, but everything else, I don't think they lost anyone, which is absolutely crazy for a map like Ilios, and for any map in general to only have 1 death like that between their entire team. They absolutely dominated. As a second map, as we saw earlier, it's going to be hybrid/escort, so you'll be able to ban one of those maps in the pool, and then the other team will get to pick. So there are a lot of different maps to be able to pick from. The question is, do we go to another dive map? My guess is no, based on how that map went. So where do we like to go? Do they want to go to more of a poke style map? Do we want to go to more of a brawl, more of a rush? It's gonna. I mean, what does New Haven do from here?
And it's up to them. They'll get to pick whether it's hybrid or escort. There'll be one ban out of the other end in Thomas, and then you get to pick the map from there. So this is like the widest selection in the entirety of the series, and it's kind of nice to be in this position. I don't know how much it is going to help, because the biggest issues, once again, for me, Thomas just looks so confident. They look so clean in their type of execution that the Chargers, they're playing a completely different game at this point, right? They're playing Thomas's game. And when you have a control that is that just firm over your opponent over the entirety of the series, it's very difficult to come back. So I hope that whatever map is selected, which it does seem like we are going to be going to escort for sure, I hope it's one that it is a comfort pick, that it is something that will put New Haven Chargers in a familiar environment so we can get that mojo back that we do know that they're capable of.
I couldn't agree more. It just sucks to see, just an absolute domination like that. We love good games of Overwatch. We don't like one team coming in and absolutely steamrolling. So, as we mentioned, we're gonna have to see. Assume let's say we go to a brawl map and they win. Then at that point, we get an awesome series that's gonna come down to map pick, which that is really cool. So, I'm very hopeful for what kind of map we're gonna get. I mean, we do know we're going to escort for number 2. We're just waiting on the exact map pick.
The nice part about this pick ban system is that everyone, there's a little bit more strategy that's put into everything, a little bit more control from each side. The one slightly frustrating part is it takes a minute for people to figure out what they're going to do, because you have to talk it over with your team, but that's all right with us, because we can just go ahead and keep tracking about this game. Because another thing I want to shout out here, we haven't seen any Orisa yet. That Ilios map was the pick of Thomas College, if I'm not mistaken. They like playing that diva, very comfortable putting Aquilian onto that hero. Just no questions asked. The supports were just popping off in the exact positions where they needed to be. Everything moved like clockwork. If a map that is selected on an escort, unless it's like a Dorado or something, will likely be more in a poke phase or even more in a brawly direction. So depending on that direction, I'm very curious to see what adaptations that Thomas College has. Can they give us a bit more of a flexible muscle and show us that same comfortability that they did on the Diva Dive?
I think they can, just based on the talent you're seeing from the players. It doesn't seem like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like you're looking at it and you go, oh, they're just really good at that one composition. I kind of look at it like, wow, their players are very talented. I could see them being very good at many different compositions. So we're going to have to see for sure. Maybe that one composition just highlights their strengths, and maybe, they'll struggle a little bit more when it comes to the brawl. But my suspicion is not, and they'll be able to flex around just as well. But I'm curious to see how New Haven will look differently if we get to more of a different situation. Sometimes, even when I used to play, we were not that good at dive, but when you put us in a brawl, man, we were great at it.
And that's the thing, right? I said that at the start before we even went into the map. Is dive is a lot harder to synergize than a brawl composition, because the pieces move so much faster, and you have to be ready at an instant to make a move. You have to set up properly. Many more things need to go into place. Whereas brawl, it can be much simpler, like a 3-2-1, we're sending it sort of deal, right? So something like a brawl that offers more control. Literally, yeah. I do think, though, if we want to see the New Haven Chargers come back into the series, the Kiriko Lucio has to go. Juno is just way too strong right now. Same thing goes for Brig. If you want to put it on in there, I at least need to see the Juno. The Lucio was more of a risk hazard than anything else at that point. An easy character to chase down and punish if you're not playing it almost to perfection. I wasn't a fan. And I think if New Haven Chargers can play more to that type, it will really help with their overall pacing. I don't know if we're going to get either of those, Ray, because I get to see a little bit of the map that has been picked. I think we're in a competition for, how weird can we make the map selections in this series? Junkertown is up there. I cannot name many players who actually enjoy this map in particular. So New Haven might just be a team that, we practice these niche maps so that our opponents aren't ready for them.
It is definitely possible. Circuit was the map that was banned from Thomas Black, so they don't want to play no Sigma, apparently.
Guess not.
Which I was just like, man, as Sigma players ourselves, man, but it's okay. Junkertown, we could see some Sigma. You never know, but I do think it's likely to be more if it is going to be more of a brawl poke it's going to be Orisa rather than Sig on this map. And then maybe you get some Diva as well. I doubt we see the Winston as much.
Probably not. This is just not a good dive point. You could make it work if you really, really wanted to, but why do that? Why make your own lives more difficult? I don't know. We'll have to go ahead and see. We can predict all that we want to here, but this does tell us for Thomas College that they're confident in the range game. They want to force more of this brawly poke style instead of the dive. Like, we need to stay far away from that. Great. Try something new. I know I Love You 3000 was on that Widowmaker before. He's a very talented hit scan player, but we weren't able to see that kind of come to light within that game 1. So they're kind of hoping a change of pace can flip that around here as we head into map 2.
Quick side note before, we load up into the map. Just overall thoughts on the changes to the maps we saw with the trailer.
That's true. We don't have those changes in yet, but it's
Did you like the changes?
I like stairs. Stairs are great. I like Dorado stairs. Excellent. I don't think they're doing anything to Junkertown though, right?
No. When we said Circuit was banned, it just made me think about Circuit as well.
I like that. Oh yeah, that little balcony thing. The defense can no longer walk up to that corner, which kind of sucks because I love holding there.
Yep.
Sad day. Sad day.
We take a look at the defense for Thomas College. No surprises here. For New Haven, I'm sorry. Yeah, they are going to go with more of a brawl composition with the Ramatra May, which is interesting considering as it sits, Thomas College is highlighting over the Diva. Because normally what you get with the May is you're looking to isolate another enemy tank or player. But if you're playing Diva, you're just a lot more mobile and you're less likely to get caught by something like that. So it's adaptations you're going to have to make if you're New Haven, where you're not looking to wall off the Diva necessarily, but you're looking to slow them down with your primary fire.
Yeah, and I think running the May here is really going to help that. There's just nothing that Diva can do against the May, and will certainly act as a deterrent. The question is, can New Haven Chargers get close enough? Because we saw this on Ilios, that a lot of the times when they were rotating or getting prepared for these fights, Thomas College would just pounce on them before they were even ready. And even now, Killer's taking this off angle and has so much more map control. As of the second, Knight is somewhere just camping on the corner, not really with a specific direction to go in, whereas Killer has just been taking all of this area without anyone really putting themselves in their path. Knight is in deep trouble here. Someone has to get in and protect the DPS, gets pushed into the Mega Pack, and there's that May wall. They wanted to bait Aquilian in. You just don't have the damage to knock the Diva out of the mech so far, and Thomas College Black have pretty much moved this payload past the point. New Haven Chargers are yet to find that engage they really want because Aquilian is taking it first. These little jabs in and out, ensuring that a full push cannot happen. Jay Raynor got chunked down eventually from all the pressure in the sky, and this payload ray, it's about to hit this point, and only now Thomas College Black get the eliminations.
Neon made a very smart adjustment. They saw that New Haven was running Venture and May, immediately swapped over to the Pharah. I know you've said, Tiny, we need to make the t-shirts that May is a hit scan, but nah, the Pharah absolutely went crazy there because they noticed no hit scans on the field, and Neon made a great adaptation, and they already have Barrage. Like, that's how insane it's going right now.
No, even that, but I want to point out what Killer has been able to do. Killer just wrapping around the flank like that. New Haven couldn't control the flank. They knew that there was a threat over there. Their attention was split, and you can now reap the rewards of Neon's early barrage. It is a trade out at the end of the day, but the attackers take this. This payload is still moving. The longer you can keep the Chargers just crossing the staircase, the better.
Yeah, and they can't control the high ground, so that's just going to be that much better. Neon is going to keep the Pharah. I was curious if they'd swap considering there's been a Cassidy change, but they just feel confident that they can still get away with it.
And it is working. Why would you want to switch? There's no more May in your face either. I mean, look at this. They even try to walk out. Jay Raynor is getting denied at every angle. The orbital ray isn't enough to keep them alive. Killer is in there, and he's out for blood. That's 2 with the tectonic shock. Thomas College Black, Ray, I want to point this out. This payload has not been contested for the entire game until right now, where Skylarkman throws himself at the payload. 3 ults, and New Haven got shut out in every one. Thomas College understanding of how to play as a team is so good.
I don't know if you noticed, Tiny, but they were in a small hallway there, literally pushing into an annihilation. They did not care. They went in there, got the squishies, and got out. And then they ended up popping Rally and Orbital Ray as well, but the damage had already been done, and you got a bunch of ults out of the way. as we see New Haven swapping over to Sigma, which I think is a good adaptation to help deal with the Diva. But is it just too little too late, especially with the amount of ultimates they committed to the previous fight?
Killer should not be allowed to do this right now. Like, he is just in the middle of New Haven, just thriving. He's jamming. And I mean, he's almost got another ultimate here just before Knight gets one of their own, but you pop out, you lose that hero right away, and the Venture's gone. Second barrage from Neon. The New Haven Chargers just aren't allowed any room to breathe as Neon just making sure the fireworks are lighting up for Thomas College.
And again, it's just a slate stagger onto Jay Rayner. It's just looking rough for the New Haven Charger. I mean, you have the ability with this high noon to at least force positioning away from Thomas College, but that's really it. Maybe you can find a kill with this Tectonic, but it's not going well, Tiny.
No, this is a rough point. New Haven has to put their foot down here with a Deadeye attempt to zone Thomas College Black back, and that's not enough. The Tectonic Shock will do the trick. Denying a contest for the time being, but I'm looking at Payne's ultimate. She has got this orbital ray. The Gravitic Flux isn't going to do a whole lot of anything other than chunk down Neon. The focus fire paid off in the end, but she didn't deal with the Venture. Killer is back, and it all lined up perfectly with the Tectonic Shock. The earth broke underneath their feet. Give him the 5K. Doesn't even need it. There'll be a full cap out of Thomas College Black. Ray, they just look so good, especially Killer on this Venture.
And for a map like Junkertown, to have a time bank of 340, that the entire of the map you only lost 20 seconds, that is absolutely ridiculous. Every single player on Thomas College just looks like they're they may not always be moving as one, because that's not what their composition is, meant to do. But it's like they all have the same brain, and they all know, like, okay, Killer's doing this. If I go here, we're going to basically pincer them, and there's nothing they can do. Like, it is just a beauty to watch. It's on full display.
And even this too, New Haven did make the adaptation. They did go to this Juno brig that we wanted them to. We just never got a point to see it. Thomas College always took the initiative. They're always the ones that were starting these fights and ending them accordingly. It's that kind of understanding, play calling. I want to know what the comms sound like for this squad right now, because it has to be pretty darn near perfection. Barely dropping any players, even in the fights that you are taking, is truly impressive for the squad.
I know it's funny, Tiny. I feel like, for Thomas College, I feel like you either have, like, the most picture-perfect best comms ever, or you probably don't have any, and they're just so used to playing with each other, they don't even need to say anything. Like, I feel like there's no in-between there. Like, that's just how this composition works here.
No, literally, like you could just be full on chilling at this point. I don't think they are. Like, it does seem like that Thomas College Black are taking this very seriously. Love you 3000.
No, I think even if they aren't coming, I believe they're very serious. It's almost
absolutely.
like, oh, we've been here, we've done that. Like, we know what each other are trying to do. We don't even need to say it. Like, it's crazy.
Up over the May from I Love You 3000. We're back to this sort of brawl style, but they weren't really able to lock down a player. Again, it's Killer that's been running rampant, and I'm a big fan of some good old Rock Muncher gameplay. Killer has been putting on a showcase so far on this venture, on a map that traditionally isn't amazing for that hero, to my understanding. Between the rockets, the threat from above, a Neon, and then Killer lurking beneath your feet, it's like this perfect 1-2 punch that New Haven Chargers haven't been able to catch out yet.
I mean, again, they're just playing extremely aggressive. Neon is untouched in the sky. I feel like something has to change here. You cannot just allow Neon to rule the skies and absolutely reign supreme. It is ridiculous. Already going to have Barrage.
It's been a minute, right? It's been a minute. Neon has another barrage. I mean, he's been racking up the kills with them, too. He's going to go over. Goodbye, Juno. Oh, the Matrix. A little bit defensive. Keeps him alive. Thought Neon might be hitting some Pain, but it said it's Pain dealing with the Pain herself. How many times can you say Pain in a sentence? A lot. 3 times to be exact. That's exactly how many final blows she's able to attain as a support. And Thomas College Black, when your supports even are able to make the difference that they are, that's when you know that it's such a strong, unified team.
Again, they're just moving so well as a unit. This Diva, Farah, and I mean, Killer on this venture has just been absolutely insane. When it comes to Orbital Ray, maybe this will be the key that Haven's been looking for.
They're gonna try that Blizzard on top of it, but no, it's eaten and cooling. Got a nice scoop of ice cream for dessert, and it's Neon and Killer, the dynamic duo playing lights out. for Thomas College Black. They didn't lose anybody throughout that entire sequence. Another team kill coming through.
Tiny, the pun is right there. They literally went to Dairy Queen and had a blizzard for ice cream, okay?
Well, I didn't know if I could say that, so I didn't say that.
Why wouldn't you be able to say that?
Brand name? I don't know. Well, sorry, NECC, we're not supposed to say that, but it was good. I like ice cream. Ice cream is great. Aquilian certainly agrees with that. Neon has another barrage ray. How is this possible? We're like building up one barrage per minute at this rate. Barely had any shots chucked in their direction, but that is a great start. Killer is down, but there's a killer in the skies you gotta deal with. Actually, a whip shot to finish it off. All right, New Haven, this is the best chance you've had so far. You gotta run with it. Make the most that you can. There'll be Annihilation on top of it. J. Rain, Nor is cleaning house. New Haven Chargers are getting this payload on the move.
They are going to have to deal with one more fight likely before they get this delivered. You're going to have to deal with a diva. I mean, it depends. Does Thomas College want to look to push this? Because the only ones who can touch are Killer and Neon, I believe. They are going to touch. Okay.
I mean, Venture can just stall forever, right? Like, you can just stay underground. Nobody can touch you. The drill dash to get to high ground. Like, Killer knows what he's doing. And at this point, Aquilian's back. Has the self-destruct. Should a remake be needed? Thomas College of all the stall in the world. It's just a matter of time before he find the kills, which his Killer does, probably. And that's why they named themselves that. New Haven Chargers on a back foot. There's these little jabs from Aquilian that force these Fates right into Neon's sight lines. And there's only so much you can really do to combat it. New Haven Chargers want to play this brawly sort of style, but it's rare that there's players close enough long enough. There's Neon on the flank, and like there's just no one to look in his direction at all. Thomas College Black have surrounded the New Haven Chargers with 10 seconds left to go here. There's going to be a rough one to close out. They're able to raid the last glimmer of hope that this team has to make an elim happen, but there's the spawning one from Pain. You just got to stick it out, hope for the best, but what can you do if Killer is on the hunt for yet another final blow? The ult doesn't get it done, but it's just the primaries that will do the job. Coming back out from the ground, another chunk of damage straight towards the backline to support. Can't assist their tank, and J. Rain Nor on the field. All lonely, almost has this annihilation. If you can get it, the stall potential is there. Yes, there's still a chance for the New Haven Chargers. There's no burrow for Killer. They can zone out with this Deadeye, but it's still the Venture in the kill feed against the odds, against everything that should make sure this hero doesn't work. Killer gets it done, and Thomas College Black put themselves up to match point.
Killer on this Venture, man.
Jeez.
Did you ever think we'd be saying Venture MVP? Like, whoo,
yes, we should be, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's something. Did we ever think we were going to say that? And I'm like, oh man, yes, Venture is very viable, and there are definitely situations where Venture is great, but man, to where you're playing it at such a high level that we're looking at you as MVP, like Killer has been insane, and it's the fact that they have to worry about Neon in the sky as well. And then Killer's just like, oh, let me just flank over here. Oh, look at all this damage, you're dead. Like, it's crazy.
Like, it's so cool. Like, even myself, I'm a Venture Tracer 2 trick. Like, I feel like I know this hero. I've watched so much high-level Venture gameplay, but I haven't seen a performance as dominant as this one. Killer knows exactly what he needs to do, how to play safe, when to get aggressive, how to work with a team, manage your cooldowns. And mind you, Ray, this is a map where Venture most times should not be working. With how open this space is, you have to be perfect in your cooldown usage and positioning just to make sure that you can get to the fight to begin with, let alone find 2 to 3 final blows per fight and straight up put Thomas College in your backpack at times.
And again, it feels like the confidence in Thomas College, like, and it's almost like comfortability in your own skin. Like, regardless, we know this composition works for us. We trust in Killer on this Venture to get things done, and we're just gonna roll with it, and we're still gonna dominate you. It's almost like that London Spitfire effect, and it's been a beauty to watch. 2-0 in the favor of Thomas College Black. We are going to take a break. We're going to find out what map number 3, which is going to be Push. We'll be right back.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your, nope, get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. Dude, this is a spicy workout. Gotta make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Ooh, ooh. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
That's so worth it.
Welcome back to our NECC Week 3 broadcast. We've had some dominant performances so far, specifically that of Thomas College Black. Loving how Killer has looked on this venture. Couple that up with Aquilian on this very comfortable Diva. Not to mention the work the supports have been putting in. Neon in the skies. It's this incredible 1-2 punch. You got one that's diving in the ground, one that's flying above you, and it has seemed to overwhelm the New Haven Chargers so far. They find themselves down 2-0. One more map pick left in the tank, and Ray, it looks like they're going to take us to our push map of Runasapi.
I know. I'm so excited. I love this map. It is the best.
Okay.
It is the best push map they have ever made in this game, and I just love it. Not only is it like a very well designed map and fun to play, it's beautiful and colorful. There's a reason why it's my background, folks.
I did just notice that is your background. You know, I probably should figure that out sooner, but it is your background. That's pretty cool. It's like you willed it into existence, if anything.
I tried to. I'm like, which map do I want to see the most this season? Last time it was Midtown. Remember, it was always Midtown for my background for the longest time.
That's true. It was Midtown.
And now Runasapi came out, and it's now Runasapi.
Hey, we haven't seen any Midtown yet, so it's meant to be. Next time, you gotta pick like a really obscure map and see if it gets picked. We gotta will it into existence. This was pretty chill though. I do like Runasapi. It is, I agree, Ray, the best designed push map so far, even if it's the same shape of New Queen Street. The overall architecture and playability of it makes it feel like that you can make comebacks at pretty much every turn without being shut out too much. It's gonna be tough though. You cannot lie in this map.
I feel like every game I've personally played on here, like even if a team jumps out to a big lead, it never feels like it's over. Like on the other push maps, it can kind of feel like that way sometimes. So that I think that's the beauty in this map, and I'm very excited to see. I have been a big proponent of, I love playing Diva on this map, so I think this is going to work very well for Thomas College Black. As we see, New Haven's going to continue to play this Ramatra composition. So as we talked about, ILY 3000 has to do a great job of using that primary fire, slow down Aquilian, and try and focus them down quickly.
And not even Aquilian. Like, there's got to be some way. The nice part for New Haven Chargers, though, is unlike Junkertown, Thomas College Black now has to fight directly into you. And the opportunity to get value out of the May, of the Venture, has skyrocketed right now. Killer has already gone in, gone out. Exactly what you expect from a Venture. The problem is your Ramatra gave chase, and you don't get anything out of the rest of your Pubble form. Aquilian is deep into the backline. Both supports have already been taken care of. New Haven Chargers, they get so focused on one target, the split of how split Thomas College can play at times. They kind of let that overwhelm them and can't quite find the trades they need.
And that's the beauty of the composition that Thomas College is playing, is the split nature that they're playing. Killer can come at you from one direction, then Neon from another, Aquilian from a third direction, while Pain can just keep their distance and just shoot at you and keep their team alive. It's a well-designed composition, and it's working very well. And you know, as I hear you talking about Venture, Tiny, it really makes me feel like, I never thought about this comparison before, but Venture really feels like the DPS Doomfist. Like, I'm going in, trying to find a kill, and if not, I get the heck out of there with my punch, but in this case, it's the drill dash.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. You gotta have one cooldown to get in, one cooldown to get out. Whichever one it is, that depends. Well, Skylark Man, only one way out though. Gets stuck with a pulse bomb of Neon. Once again, racing his way to these ultimates. Thomas College Black making quick work of this checkpoint as a result too. Getting it within the first 90 seconds, a rather rare find within Collegiate. And it just seems that Thomas College Black, they got so momentum on their sides at this point. It's the question of New Haven can really start to push back.
And it's been very little ult commit. All they've had was Neon, who pulsed Skylarkman. So you're in a position where you're going to have a lot of tools to continue to push here. New Haven hasn't really built up to anything, so this is dangerous as the orbital ray comes down.
The orbital ray now, Thomas College Black, they have such an ult advantage. They've been snowballing this whole time. They're fighting in the spawns, and we can't see the bot anywhere on our screens. Like, this is the proactiveness we're used to seeing from Thomas College Black. They use this orbital ring to go in. Aquilian follows it up.
I'd say the only thing you could say, because Bookshelf has stayed behind and pushed the cart, they haven't been able to get Rally. So not only are you going to have an ult advantage in this fight because Thomas College has used 2 ults, well, they already got the Pulse Bomb back, but they don't have the Orbital Ray. They don't have Rally yet either.
And this is a good chance for New Haven to come back. You have more support ults, and I think that Orbital Ray is the most impactful ultimate in the game. if Monclover can work some magic and make sure that the Chargers are on the same page here, I really think that there's a chance of coming back, especially since that Pulse Bomb went a bit live. Thomas College Black have revealed almost their entire hand of cards. They don't got too many surprises left. It's the New Haven Chargers will have the element on their side. The Aquilian forced back, managed to keep themselves in the mech. It's the return of Bookshelf. Finally has this relation, but the Blizzard zones them out further. Combo that up with every single ult in the game. And New Haven Chargers managed to turn this robot around some way, somehow, but my goodness, Ray, did it take a lot.
Yeah, it took every single one of their ultimates. If you decide at Thomas College, you're like, we lost the point, but they have no ults now. And Aquilian can either look to get aggressive with his bomb or just use it as a remech, and then Pain, they can win the fight alone just with this orbital ray. So Thomas College put themselves in a great position that even though some distance is given up, they're in a great spot.
Oh, I mean, like, a great spot, but how about Neon? Look where Neon is. I talked about Killer having excellent map control and just on these flanks. There's no one to, like, I Love You 3000's not going to be just checking the Tracer on the side. Neither is Knight. You're going to get outflanked, outranked, and outdueled in pretty much every angle. Killer and Neon just have so much more space on their side. They stagger I Love You 3000 out a little bit further, too. Thomas College Black, they want to get a full completion.
That's the other issue, is they don't really have anyone who can check the tracer. I mean, Sky Larkman can kind of, swing around and, try and check the tracer in that way. But that's about it. It's not like you have, like, I don't know, like a Torb turret, for example. Like, it just, or maybe a Cassidy. There's no one to check Neon, and he's just getting away with everything. So many pulse bombs are farming.
And Killer is another tectonic shock, too, and it's really Thomas College Black. They're going on this flank. There's that angle. They're ready to contest it. Killer only uses one use for now. There's the rest of it, though. Knight is caught out, and the Annihilation is forced. Neon and Killer could just go on a tear in the backline as long as they stay away from that tank threat in the main. J-Ray Nor trying to make something happen. It's just never enough. The damage from the rest of the team, they just straight up ignore the tank and take care of Monclover. They're looking at Skylark, man, and by the time the tank gets an elimination, it might be too little too late. Knight using the last bit of their burrowed stall at this payload. It's a nice pick onto Neon, perhaps. New Haven Chargers still have some story left to write in this. But if they're going to turn this robot around, Bray, you really can't get much closer to a full completion than that.
It was a nice comeback from New Haven. Sky Larkman getting that big rally to keep up their tank and then also find the kill on the Bookshelf and use their rally.
Oh, no.
Oh, I mean, that's 2 for 1. You'll take that. New Haven should be fine in this situation. I mean, the only thing is, I think Thomas College is still going to get these close spawns, so you're going to be taking a fight real close here, and all you have is this tectonic shock, while Thomas College has a lot to work with. Neon has swapped over to the Thera, though, because, again, no hit scan on the side of New Haven.
That was a problem. Before you just had 2 flankers kind of from side to side. Now you have one in the sky and one in the ground. And it's just so hard to focus for any team. If you're not on the same page and able to kind of execute, focus on one of these angles, you're easily going to get outmatched in a lot of this damage points. Knight barely making it out alive. Tectonic shock coming up with an orbital ray. It's a great amount of pushback, but it doesn't land all that much. It forces Aquilian to use the self-destruct. Rebecca and it grabs 2? I'm sorry, how did this happen? That had to have been some sort of stun or something on the other side. Maybe a concussive blast. That ultimate should not get that much value. It's Thomas College Black. They're going to move it forward.
Hey, you're going to take that if you're Aquilian. I didn't remech, but I got 2 with it. Like, you'll take that. ILY 3000 is going to have the Blizzard online, and there's no, like, support ultimates to sustain. But all things considered, Thomas College has a very mobile composition. So as long as they're ready for it, they should be able to avoid it.
Ooh. I mean, they'll be able to kind of live. I mean, if Neon didn't come in chucking that last rocket, be in a better situation. Do get Neon, though. That's not terrible. Killer has an ultimate. What does I Love You 3000? Just don't get your Blizzard eaten. As much as we do love 1 scoop of ice cream is not as good as 2 scoops of ice cream, so Quillian's certainly looking out for that, but you may not even need it. Nice couple of icicles. The May Sniper making a return here. in this matchup. All Thomas College Black are trying to do is stall this time and prevent New Haven from moving forwards at all. You have this massive lead right now that forces New Haven to really have to win 4 or 5 fights in a row, so getting a stagger onto Aquilian here should really help with that.
They didn't use any ults at the same time, so New Haven actually is looking to be in a pretty good spot. But as you mentioned, it's such an uphill battle they're in. But we did mention before this as well that this is the map where you never completely feel out of it. So as long as they can just string together like 2 good fights here, they could really start getting the momentum.
I'm looking at Jay Raynor. It has that not the rampage into but Killer doesn't even give them a chance. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Thomas College Black are 1 step ahead of New Haven Chargers at basically every turn that we've seen so far, and you don't even get an opportunity to use that rampage. That's the one tool that Thomas College have nothing to say against. It's all Killer and Neon in the kill feed.
You know, I'm just realizing I've never seen the icon that they use for you killing someone with the burrow. I just saw that for the first time. I'm like, huh, that's what it looks like, huh? But the one good thing you can say is, once again, the only thing committed was the Blizzard, so they're still going to have a lot to re-engage. The Thomas College Black only really has the rally, and they'll probably get Rocket Barrage online, but you're in a good spot. I mean, again, looking at this Rampage, they don't really have anything to counter it.
That is very true, but you need to find New Haven Chargers. You gotta make all of these ultimates last for like 5 fights here. That's not gonna be easy at all. And mind you, you have to win all 5 of those fights. Add that in. The Killer's still in the back line. No one's looking at Killer. No one can look at Killer. They're all looking at Neon, but not enough. Trey Raynor, that's the Rampage gone. New Haven Chargers needed that ultimate at all costs. The one thing that couldn't be shut down. All you can do now is hope that this fight either A, lasts long enough, you can live long enough to push through it. It might be the case that the DMEC bookshelf has gone down. You trade that out for Mon Clover, sure, but Killer's still alive. The supports have fallen. Killer is single-handedly turning this back with the help of their DPS partner. I mean, Neon, Killer, these two have yet to hit the brakes.
15 seconds remaining. Thomas College did pretty much empty out what they had available as New Haven. It's been a long time since we've seen Jay Raynor commit this Rampage. This has to be the time. This has to be their moment, Tiny.
You have the guarantee of the touch, but it's all into the hands of the Chargers tank player. What can Dre Raynor make this happen? It only lands onto the tank. It's not ideal, but Aquilian must get out of the neck. Bookshelf is low, and Aquilian hangs on to dear life. Everyone's still alive. That's all the ultimates. The New Haven Chargers gone. Done in a flash, and they got nothing out of it. LW 3000 must win this in the neutral. Monclover follows it up, and there you go, New Haven Chargers. You got the ball rolling. You didn't even need any fancy tools to do it.
And they're going to have a very fancy tool for the next fight in this Blizzard from ILY 3000. But again, they're going to get the cart maybe to the checkpoint. They still are going to have to string together, now that we're in overtime, 3 to 4 more fights to be able to bring this home. Can they do it with just a Blizzard? And maybe, you know, if you can win with just the Blizzard, then you get these supports online for the next fight.
Well, at least have the checkpoint. A little bit of a standstill. I see Killer in the back line with an ultimate. No one has turned tail. The shield is down. Jay Raynor's not in a good spot. The Blizzard does not land on anybody except for Aquilian and Bookshelf, and there's not anyone that's left standing on their feet to even give a glance in the direction of the Frozen players. Thomas College Blacks look dominant from the start, and Ray, only proper that they finish this out in a clean 3-0.
They were just the better team time and time again. And the trio, the flanking trio between Aquilius, Killer, and Neon was just absolutely ridiculous. And the supports did an amazing job. I mean, not to, no pun intended, but just support how, just how flanky and how, like, spread out they want to be. The Brig and the Juno were the best two to be able to support that style of play.
Shout out Payne, especially. She was not only playing this kind of support role, like Juno can output a ton of healing, but she really made sure that the damage was felt. She found herself in the kill feed a lot, contributing to a lot of these plays, doing a little bit of chip to help out Killer and Neon Aquilian when they were going in on these dives, and that's really what you want from Juno. She's so strong right now, and the fact that you can continue to take advantage of roles like that is amazing. It only enables players like Killer, like Neon, who want to be a little sneaky on these flanks even more.
And to think they were able to do it and just continue to play this Diva composition. I mean, Diva's extremely strong right now, but Venture and Pharah for the most part, and Tracer every now and then, it was just a marvel. It was so much to have to worry about. It was just almost like a separated dive where it's just like you had so many people coming from so many different directions, whether you had a Pharah above or a Tracer on your left and a Venture on your right, and then a Diva in front of you. There was just, it felt like it dismantled the entirety of New Haven.
Thomas College Black played what we like to call the separate but together play style.
Yeah.
Everyone's on their own pillar. They're like, hey, you're on your own. You just got to make sure that you live. You poke from these different angles and then eventually just collapse onto that core. The style that New Haven Chargers wanted to play can be viable. They want to sit all in one group. Unfortunately for them, that's exactly where their opponents wanted them to be. Corralled, pulling them apart piece by piece, and it just shows that Thomas College is a very strong school in this NECC Division 3 season. I'm very glad we got the opportunity to highlight them.
Couldn't agree with you more, Tiny. Congratulations, Thomas College Black, for getting the huge Week 3 victory over New Haven Chargers. We have one more game for you guys. It's going to be a little bit. It's going to be Redbirds Academy going against Northeastern. That game's not for checking my watch another hour. So we're going to take a quite hefty break. You're going to get a nice little ad for some nice meat sticks. And we'll be back in about an hour to present you the second game.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Is a
ago.
dog been digging in here?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Oh! Yeah. There's something in there.
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
break is now over, people. We are back in it, ready for some more NECC Overwatch. And this time, Ray, we're going to go ahead and turn it up a notch because we have our weekly Division 1 matchup. We got some familiar faces making a return to this broadcast and are looking for a bit of a more positive note to end their series. Banging 5 maps, gotta say, from ISU Academy, couldn't get it done against Briarcliff, and now the new challenger approaching in Northeastern University, ranked power rankings-wise, top 20 within the nation. How's this one gonna fare? I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, Northeastern has been on the rise, and as we mentioned, now in the top 20, so they're only continuing to grow and get stronger as a team. We're going to have to see if they can pull it off against, you know, it's not ISU's main roster. It is their academy roster, but ISU is still ISU, so you got to be ready and prepared to take on even their academy team, who is also in Division 1, so they're definitely no slouches.
Oh, not by the slightest. When we got to see ISU Academy previously, I remember specifically this DPS duo of Vintage and Arise playing this sort of like hit scan with like a Genji coming in here and there. It was glorious all the way through. Very happy with that. You put Destiny on the tank. A bunch of happy campers over, or actually no, it was Axery on the tank, excuse me. Bunch of happy campers. It looked great for the Redbird Academy. They just couldn't fully get it done. Made some questionable swaps here and there. Had some slight things that helped set them back against Briarcliff. And as you said, Ray, Northeastern is a rising team. They are a team that used to be at the top of Collegiate Overwatch. If you remember, way back when, like 3 to 4 years ago, this team was there. They were the team to beat and are now rising back up to that point after a bit of downtime.
So we're going to have to see if they can continue their rise to previous glory, or will the main stakes in ISU Academy with backing by ISU be able to knock them down a peg? We're going to find out as we know what our first map is going to be. It is going to be Control, of course, and it is decided that we'll be going to Nepal for map number 1.
I like this. This is exactly what ISU Academy ended up picking in their Week 1 series. So, pretty comfort zone for this team, is at least what it tells us here. I am kind of interested by this fact. The one common factor that these two teams have is that they have both played Converse University, another team who is often ranked within that top 20. The difference is there was a 3-1 victory for Northeastern against Converse University in Week 1. Week 2, 3-0 loss for ISU Academy, and they're coming into this off of said loss, winless on this season when this team has extremely high expectations on them to perform, just having that Redbirds name tag alone. So going up against somebody like Northeastern, who is looking for a similar thing, to have that sort of run back, to have this return to glory, as we want to call it, we'll have to see if ISU Academy can start this off strong on their own map choice.
As Nepal is always a very interesting map, it tends to be a more brawl-dominant map, and as we saw in the previous series with the Redbirds Academy, they did play a lot of that Orisa, so it won't be a shock if we see that once again. The big question is, what is Northeastern going to look to run, as we'll be finding out that shortly as we are starting on Sanctum. The one thing about Sanctum is it is kind of the odd one out. You can get different things, but it does look like both teams are going to roll out on that Orisa, and they're both going to have the Ashes. And as we remember correctly, Vintage was very, very good. So we're going to see if they can carry some of that momentum over.
Yeah, now that Orisa has been more of the stay, May has gone more into the background. May didn't do much against Orisa just with her Fortify alone, so Vintage being a very big threat on this hit scan, gotta be watching that if you're Northeastern. You let this guy start cooking on off angle, Ray, they're gonna be in trouble.
Couldn't agree with you more, as Northeastern is going to have Shashi on the Pharah. And so this is so interesting. Ash Pharah on a map like Sanctum. I mean, there is a lot of boot potential, but that is not what I had on my bingo card, to be honest.
Pharah's also been making a run back, kind of from her days when she was really good with Mauga not too long ago. And just such a strong hero, very difficult to contest with the hit scan nerfs not being good. It kind of, just everything that counters Pharah being bad objectively makes her better, even though she has less health. All the meanwhile, it'll be a rise with that first final blow. You gotta be careful with where these rockets are coming from. The Pharahs are unlikely to play with their team. It'll catch you off guard, just like it did Hedwig if you're not careful.
As I think the best thing for Northeastern was, okay, we lost someone, let's just get out and look to re-engage. The thing is, there's only 2 passive engagement for Northeastern to really take. So basically you can have the entire team on one angle and have a Rise sitting on the other angle with those Farah rockets.
Yeah, and especially harder to push like into this choke. Now you have to walk into the Farah rockets, and it'll be Rise with the first pick once again. Both support players of Northeastern Varsity have been dealt with, so there's not much motivation for the Huskies to continue pushing here. Frisco does stick around to poke him out a little bit more, but hopefully should be okay on the Battle Cattle.
Gonna have to definitely get out of there and reset. However, with the push that we've seen from ISG, they're gonna have the ult advantage coming into this first fight, or not this fight.
Yeah, they'll have the barrage difference at this time. Rise very much beating Vintage to it, but yeah, speaking of Vintage, you actually lose them. Sashi is striking back on the flying hero of their own as Northeastern just opts to contest the point. ISU nowhere to be seen.
That's actually very
Hedwig?
favorable for the side of Northeastern, but Hedwig's been taken down.
How did this even happen? Destiny was just living in the backline without really any thought put into it. Uses the Terror Surge to stay alive. Arise, that was gutsy, to say the least. Sashi touched that down real fast, and Northeastern Varsity, they'll manage to keep the control here.
Gutsy is definitely a word to say it. Questionable is another way of saying that. Not sure about that one. I mean, kind of just left yourself wide open. And honestly, you didn't have the best angle to get a lot of that damage down anyway. So very unfortunate and uncharacteristic mistake out of our Rise as Northeastern has now shifted the momentum back in their favor. And ISU threw a decent amount into that fight, so Northeastern with this barrage.
Hey, you get the trade here, and having a Brig hurts a lot more than not having a Farah. So Northeastern Varsity, they're going to just push straight into the spawns for the most part. Great ult management once this team has been in control, and they're certainly not an opponent to underestimate.
It is interesting that Northeastern is going with the Kiriko instead of the Brig. We all know that the Brig is definitely the more favorable comp, but with the Kiri, you definitely have the ability to pump out a lot more healing consistently than you could with the Brig. You're just a lot more squishy, so as long as it can avoid a lot of these players, Northeastern has a lot more healing available.
You have more survivability in that regard, but Destiny, you can't do that against an Orisa with no Fortify. Of course, you're going to get bullied off the map. Frisco, well, eating that one for free, rather, and the Huskies, they're about to take this to one-fight territory just off that play alone.
They did use their Bob in that fight, so ISU will have that advantage. But both teams will be coming up on Orbital Raid, but Chumbo has the rally.
Yeah, but Frisco's not even getting a chance to use the plays that they want to. Go straight into the backline. It's only Vintage's Bob that's not making the difference. Not having a tank there actually has hurt the Huskies more than it's helped. Vintage finally coming alive in the way we know that he can, and at a critical time for Redbird Academy. They'll manage to get this flip back over and force the Huskies to re-engage.
And both teams used a lot in that fight. I was going to say it was very expensive, but both teams kind of went all at it. Northeastern was trying to shut the door on this map, and now they've kind of reset the ult economy to pretty much even against ISU, which puts them in a precarious position as they got to find a way back in and flip this point one last time, especially with Destiny getting that Terror Surge advantage.
Vintage just needed to warm up, like literally. And now that he's gotten a couple shots in, he's like, all right, no problem. Goodbye, Hedwig's head. And these are kind of what ISU Academy needed. They didn't have an ult advantage right now. They have to be able to find a way to stabilize. And as you said, Ray, this Terror Surge is going to be that one tool. It's kind of this get-go of yoink them all together and chuck everything that you can at this Orisa.
As this is the final fight for Northeastern to try and make something happen. Frisco's getting close to this Terror Surge. Probably going to need that to help win them this map.
Now have to find a good time to use it. Destiny beats Frisco back, but still doesn't pull the trigger. Sashi doesn't have much health right now. ISU Redbirds, they can start to force this point that's at 99%. It's Northeastern that has to come to them, and it's Hedwig all alone on the point. Vintage just shooting fish in a barrel, essentially, for him at this point. Has the advantage. No one from Northeastern can get back to the point. It'll be Redbird Academy taking the win 199.
It felt like in those final moments for the side of Northeastern, everyone just kind of split. I get that you had to touch the point, but they kind of just left their Orisa all by themselves, and they just got picked off, and nobody put any pressure onto Vintage, as you mentioned, who was just able to free, like they were playing duck hunt basically, and just getting free shots. So I think that was a big mistake in the final moments for Northeastern. They can clean that up. I mean, that was 99.99. They just make that fight a little bit cleaner, and they probably end up winning that map.
For the most part, you'd say that these... I'm looking at the matchups across the board, tank on tank, support and support, for example. It looks even. The one difference I'm seeing right now has been between Vintage and Hedwig. Hedwig has been very much on the losing side of this, and Vintage has had a significant amount of impact on this game, including just outright winning fights. For the Redbirds, you want to shut them down? Great way to do it, Shashi. Pay for it with your own life, but it might be worth it in the long run of things. ISU Redbird Academy, they can't do much except for kind of just poke at this back line. Destiny gets a spear to the back, wasn't quite expecting it, and has to pull out all the cooldowns at the tail end just to live. The problem is you needed to take that time to deal with the Rise, and Hedwig couldn't manage to get the shots onto them thanks to Rise's superior positioning. ISU Redbird Academy managed to get the first cap.
Yeah, unfortunately, you get a good opening pick, so you don't have to deal with the Ash free firing on you from Vintage, but you could not find a Rise and get that pick off, which is unfortunate. I mean, especially when you kind of traded for the Pharah, you really needed to get the enemy Pharah down. They just were not able to do that. And now from here, a Rise could just easily, scope out where they're coming from and just rain so much damage. So Northeastern's in a precarious position.
Yeah. Defensive Pharah is so much easier to play than offensive Pharah, and it's kind of good that Shashi is occupying a Rise during this time because you just don't have fire on your teams. Frisco has more room to breathe. At least I say that. I see Destiny quite literally just stuffing Frisco in a box. That is this kind of choke point they're attempting to push through. Almost has this Terra Surge online. Same goes for Dr. Death. It'll be Ducklin though that pulls the first ult button, but not before Hedwig has been dealt with. Vintage continues to be a threat even if he's finally dealt with. Got to see the recovery come through some way or somehow. Not having supports. In fact, Chombo going ham. The advantage of having a Brigida player that can get brawling compared to a Kiriko comes up in these specific moments. Lots of ults being pressed here, Ray. I'm not really sure what the plan is with that Terra Surge with zero team to back it up.
Yeah, it's definitely, you're sitting here questioning what is going on. 70% and counting for Redbird Academy, so this is really looking like final fight territory. So you have to hope for Northeastern you can get the necessary picks with just your Kitsune Rush, and then, I mean, you don't even want to have to use your Bob. You want to finish this with just the Rush.
Ideally, yeah, but you might not have a choice if you're the Huskies right now. ISU Redbird Academy have really shut the door here on Village. They almost gave up the cap for free. Chombo, a little bit of contest, eventually got pushed off. So the Huskies are actually safe for now. Don't have to worry about the point being ticked up, but you do unfortunately have to use that Kitsune Rush just to make sure you can finish out the fight. Nice little bit of shurikens, or not shurikens, kunai, excuse me, from QG Hoppin. I'll be the Huskies in control of this point.
Shuriken, kunai, I mean, it gets the job done. They're both sharp tools.
Objects.
Yeah, exactly. And the best thing was they were able to do exactly what I said they needed to do. They kept hold of their Bob. They got that done with just the Rush, and that's great news. So now they have a Bob, and they're going to have a Rocket Barrage to work with. However, this Orbital Array, you mentioned it's one of the most impactful ults in the game right now. Mm-hmm. It's online for ISU Academy.
Yeah, you gotta hope Duck can get that up quickly, or Vintage just rips their head off before it can even happen. Hedwig's Bob, I mean, it might stall sometimes, sure, but you don't got the Ash player to back it up. ISU Redbird Academy already on the objective. There's only so much that Frisco can do with a sliver of HP. Not even able to grab the Mega Pack, and Destiny, though, has to find a way to live. Sashi, it's a trade here. It's just not enough Huskies players. As scrappy as this has been, Northeastern put up a good fight, yes, but it's ISU Redbird Academy who came out on top of the hit scan duel, as well as a lot of the extra team play on the second map of Village to close Nepal.
Which is very impressive. I mean, this is also the comfort zone of ISU Academy. Yeah. I mean, even last week against Briarcliff, where they did get an advantage was when they were able to play these Orisa compositions in its most ideal conditions. They played Orisa most of the time, and this is a great map for it. The big question is if and when, I'm assuming Northeastern will take us to a map where, maybe dive is more on the plate. What does ISU do then? Because that's when things started to take a turn toward Briarcliff.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like that ISU is necessarily bad at dive. They're just more comfortable on this Orisa sort of style. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. ISU Redbirds, they want to play face-to-face, not necessarily like these bloody training. They want to take these clean fights overall. When you're playing dive and when it does get scrappy, that's where we saw the Redbird Academy start to struggle a little bit more last week. And you'll notice that when Northeastern could force these fights to go longer and make it that scrappy battle that she wanted, it looked a lot better for their team.
It really did. So I think this series, once again, just like with Briarcliff, it could come down to just a battle of map picks. We do know the second map is either going to be hybrid or escort. So how it's going to work is it was in last year's. Northeastern will get to pick hybrid or escort. Redbirds will then ban one of those based on what they choose, and then Northeastern will get to pick one. So, my guess would be, let's say you go escort. Let's say you go hybrid.
They picked hybrid because they picked hybrid.
Yeah, they picked hybrid. We just heard that in our ear, okay? So they pick hybrid. Let's say you ban Hollywood if you're ISU because you're like, we don't really want to go Winston. We don't want to play that dive. Then maybe you go Blizzard World. That's another map where you can definitely play more dive-centric composition. So, or even Numbani. It's just going to depend. But I think if you're Northeastern, there's plenty of versatility within the hybrid maps, even with a ban, to get yourself onto a map where you're going to be able to play a more comfortable composition. If the dive is what they want to play, I don't know 100% sure. This is my first time seeing Northeastern in this setting, so I'm not sure which comps they feel the most comfortable on.
Yeah, and see, that's a really good point. Is that we don't have this information about Northeastern. We can assume we're going off where we saw some weaker points out of the Redbird Academy last week, and there weren't many of them, to be totally honest. That series went the full distance for many, many reasons, and that was just one of them. I think that if you can play an Orisa here, great. If you're picking a dive map, Redbird Academy can manage to match that too. I think Vintage being in and just kind of popping off in the way that he has so far is a big help, a big asset to this team. I feel bad. I'm not saying that Hedwig is bad. I know that I'm putting a lot of pressure on them. It's just that in a place where hit scan is it's like a glass canyon. You're either going to do what Vintage is doing and find these eliminations, combo with the dynamites, or you're going to be the first one to die. You are a vulnerable point for your team, so you need to make the most out of what you can for that small window where you're viable. And I think picking the map that they did in Blizzard World will both help that for Hedwig, having better positioning from a defensive or even attacking end, potentially, but it also can allow for that change of pace in a dive, should that be the direction Northeastern wants to go in.
I'm just saying, I feel pretty big brain right now. I didn't get the right ban. They ended up banning Midtown, but man, I had a feeling Blizzard World was coming, and we are definitely going there. I'm excited. This is where we probably get to start to see either Diva or Winston. I kind of talked about it in the first series where they're the most two popular dive tanks right now. I think Diva's a little bit better now, but Winston's becoming more and more popular. So I think it's really, at this point, it's come down to team preference and what they feel like they're better on and how they can execute it better. But both are extremely viable, especially on a map like Blizzard World where, okay, for example, if we were on Watchpoint Gibraltar, then I'm like, no, you got to go Winston. That is really high ground. You need Winston on that map. But this is more mid-high ground. It's very similar like Paraiso. It's not super high ground. So Diva is very good.
Well, yeah, the difference with Paraiso, you kind of have to run dive. There's not enough ways to get to the high ground. Blizzard World, I think you have an option, right? You can choose to run the Orisa, on first point, maybe swap it up for second and swap back on third. That's been a pretty common strategy that we've seen. Or dive on first and second, swap for third. Whatever you want to do, Blizzard World opens the door for more possibilities. For somebody like ISU Redbird Academy, I don't expect them to change unless they are forced to. If it ain't broke, why would you try to fix it in the first place? Destiny will continue to play on this Orisa. Looked really good with these javelins, comboing them up with the dynamites from Vintage. Why we saw him get so much value. Arise going over to the Genji, another very common pick that we've been seeing in higher level play as of late.
Again, it's still interesting that you come to this map. I know you can play this composition on here, but you would think Northeastern would want to swap things up based on how the last two maps went, where this is where ISU has been comfortable and where they've been feeling really good. I do think it's interesting that Arise is going to go over to the Genji. I don't know if they're expecting the possibility of the Zen from QG Hop. But if so, Arise can really get on top of that and make their lives on Zen that much harder.
This is an interesting comp from Northeastern, but I like it. The Zenyatta provides a lot more range poke damage. Destiny will have to play more disciplined. The only issue is you don't have a ton of front facing. like just heavy hitters. Shashi's going to be harassing from an off angle, trying to execute after like either a javelin throw or something like that, or just keeping a Rise at bay like this. Hedwig's going to be looking for the DPS, and that Rise is in trouble, though, with the support of Dr. Death to get back and healing a Rise out of the face of Death with it. Like, Northeastern, I can see the vision. I can see the strategy, and it worked out. Don't often see a Venom Mind kill in this level of play, but if you're Hedwig, you go ahead and take that. Still very cautious around a Rise, even if they're on the Ash here. This is a much better look out of Northeastern. It almost seems that ISU Redbird Academy don't know what to do with something this chaotic.
It's very impressive, and you think, you know, Tracer kind of basically does the same job as Genji, so I think Sashi's definitely on the better choice here, especially when you have a Juno and a Zen, which are extremely squishy. Tracer could eat that backline alive.
I mean, they're still trying to contest this. There was a lot of cooldowns pushed out. Is that Discord up on a Destiny? No, well, look how low that he got. He couldn't actually stay the whole fight, had to back off, and that'll be a 5-minute plus cap for Northeastern here. I mean, what a change of pace after getting pretty shut out with the Talon and Nepal there.
Yeah, I mean, the Zen is looking really strong right now. And when it's buzzing and when it's working, the Zen is so powerful. It can get to a point where it can be countered very easily if ISU does the right things, and then Zen starts to feel really bad. But right now, it's working very good. ISU hasn't been able to get on top of him and stop him from getting so much value.
Zen's kind of gotten the Orisa treatment lately, like just gotten a bunch of little micro buffs over the last couple of patches, and he's actually pretty viable in certain situations. So I think where he should be, it's moments like that though, you're very happy. You have that much healing on your side. Great reaction out of QG Hop. Keep their tank alive. Unfortunately, none of the mobility to move away from Destiny. It's that Discord Orb. Again, look how quickly that health bar goes down for ISU's tank. They have to pop full support ults to keep him alive, and even that's still not enough. Frisco gets the final blow at the end of the day, corralling the rest of the supports in a small room. The rally looks like nothing, and that's everything in the tank that ISU Academy had to eventually pull themselves out of a fight win, but my goodness, was it scrappy.
But it was also every single ultimate in the bank that Northeastern had. So you win the fight, and both teams used every single ultimate. And I like the swap that ISU is making. Destiny going over the Winston, you can dive this Juno Zen a lot easier. There's no Brig to protect your Juno. It's a Zen who's even squishier than Juno.
This is where you're going to have to start to reconsider your support line, potentially. Unless there's something crazy that ends up going on. It's not going to be easy for QG Hop to stay alive, along with Ducklin. Also, Vintage swapped over to the Widow not too long ago. Kind of have to match that here. Don't want to be playing Widow into Ashe, and Hedwig certainly in for a surprise on that. Vintage with the first blow, and has really been just a consistent threat on this hit scan that is yet to be dealt with. Knows when he has to make a change, knows when he has to swap. It's more or less been the Shashi versus the Vintage battle. Who can get there first? More like, who can get to the payload? This thing is still moving. Someone's got to get a contest. I believe it's actually a Rise who got there eventually. Look how split ISU Redbird Academy are, and it's not turning out well for them, especially with Hedwig returning and getting the kill.
Yeah, I mean, but they do get a lot of pressure onto Hedwig and finds the kill. A Rise, the point. Okay, they get it just in time.
Yeah, they'll get back there. Destiny has the touch, but not too much in the ultimate bank to work with. I'm looking at Shashi. How about Pulse Bomb online here? If you can get that a stick this point, might as well just go over to the Huskies right here, right now. Doesn't even need it yet, though. There it is on a Chombo. Traded out for Ducklin. I mean, Northeastern knows that the sights are popped, but Shashi opts to take the fight anyways. A risky situation, but you kind of have to try to occupy the Widow. It gives Hedwig more room to hit shots like that one onto Dr. Death. Redbird Academy have no sustain left in the tank. The orbital ray never came out, and that will be the key point for Northeastern in closing out this fight. Frisco does unfortunately have to use the ultimate to try to live, and hopefully someone can get the payload. It's Vintage, though, who comes up with another two. They get the touch at .04. Oh my gosh, no way, Vintage! A third! What a clutch out of ISU Redbird Academy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Just in time, Dr. Death is able to use those boosters to touch the point and at 0.04 meters and throw down that orbital raise. Now we're going to see a swap over to the Ana, which I like, especially now that QG Hop has moved over to the Brig, being able to throw down an ante onto a lot of these players for excuse me. For Northeastern is going to be a big deal, especially with no cleanse or with a Kirko or anything like that. And the Nano's always going to be good for Winston and Genji.
Yeah, If you lose that last fight against the Huskies, this is kind of your one. You did everything right in that fight. You have to hope something goes your way here, but it's just not. They're on the losing end of these trades so far. Down pretty much every one of their players. The only hope is forcing a C9 out of Redbird Academy. But with 2 players and a Primaling Winston, it's not going to happen. You have to take this next minute and make the most out of it.
The one thing was that is a very expensive fight for the Redbirds.
Sombra?
You know, Primal, Blade, and Rally. As we see some swabs, Ducklin's going to go over to the Brig now. They're going to have QG Hop go over to the Juno. So support players swapping roles around. Sashi's going to have the most important ult online for this fight, which is going to be the Pulse Bomb. Because the sites, I mean, you buy yourself some time as we see Hedwig, who's moved over to the Sombra as well.
Yeah, Hedwig's looking for the Widow, but those sights couldn't have been popped at a better time. The Sixth Sense of Vintage will keep him alive and does the opposite for Hedwig. Nowhere to go if you're a Sombra who's caught out in a backline. ISC Redbird Academy, they're up on this. Dr. Death is getting closer and closer to a nano. It's on Shashi's Pulse Bomb, but it goes just wide. The Huskies have yet to deal with Vintage, and it just seems that ISC Redbird Academy, if something goes wrong, if they're just not feeling good about it, it's always Vintage who comes up. The one thing that Northeastern Varsity are yet to find the answer to, and it's what will prevent them from capping this per second objective.
I will say this is a very common spot to be stopped at on Blizzard World. It can be very tough to break through the second point. I will say in the Briarcliff game, this is exactly where Briarcliff stopped the Redbirds Academy. So the spot is very interesting because they never got past this against Briarcliff. So this is still going to be a point of contention for both of these teams. The one thing I was curious about was Hedwig going over to the Sombra at the end. You had to have known that Vintage had those sites online very soon, so it kind of felt like with, you know, only one fight left, the Sombra was just going to get revealed very easily, or, you know, maybe that was just an oversight they had, because as soon as those sites popped, it was done, and that was it.
I think what they wanted to do was try to either A, C9 the payload, or B, just put more pressure onto Vintage before those fights are popped. Unfortunately for the Huskies, they didn't get that setup in time. It took too long for their players to get in position. So where the Sombra was ready to push, nobody else was. And you ended up having this awkward amount of time after realizing they're ISU Redbirds, they're not getting off the payload. So we need to try to deal with another threat. Never got the opportunity. This is a very holdable spot for Northeastern Varsity. I'm seeing an Alari though. We haven't really seen Alari much in the recent days of Overwatch. There's just been better options lately. I'm assuming QG Hop here just wants to go for more of this chip damage, hoping that they can shut down this Genji better.
It just feels, you know, they're kind of leaning more into the pick style of this composition, where a lot of players just have the ability to find kills on their own. The question is that going to work, especially when you're playing a Winston who can really get on top of these squishies and make their lives hard? So Hedwig, Dunklin, Q-Hop, all squishy, but doesn't matter when Vintage is dead.
Vintage got poked out there by a number of players. I guess that's the advantage of having an Alari. You can have more of this long-range poking that you're not necessarily ready for. Rise isn't in a much better situation. At least he'll get out alive. Can't quite say the same for Destiny. Barely gets the bubble off, and the Bionade timing was just a little bit off. You remember last time ISU Redbird Academy needed these Bionades to kind of come up big for them. They just haven't connected when Destiny is actively trying to push.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they're doing a great job in hitting his Bionade, 76% already to a nano, which might just be the win condition that ISU is playing for. Give Destiny that nano and get on top of these squishies.
Even that one, that was much better. QG Hop was hit with the nade right when Destiny hit the air. That's more the timing that Redbird Academy need to have on this dive. Even if it doesn't confirm an elimination, it gets space. This is a great spot for Destiny to be in LOS of the Ana, has the nano boost into play, and you already got Ducklin out of the picture. Rise, that's now a second for the Genji. Very successful dive from this team, and it's all about just maintaining his space, pushing Northeastern back. Briscoe never had any room to get to this point.
You don't even have to use the nano, which is even the icing on top of the cake. So you're going to have that engage tool for the next fight. Or if you even want to go with a nano blade, It's just going to depend, what's your flavor of choice. You could use the Nano to help get Destiny to that primal faster. Just have that deadly Nano blade. It's really dealer's choice. Northeastern, however, has built up to a lot of their ults. QG Hop has gone over to the Kiriko, though, trying to take away that anti-value that Dr. Death has been throwing down.
Yeah, it's kind of a must switch. The Illari you don't have any utility at all here, so having that, combo it up with an orbital ray that you've been holding on to, hoping you can get an Elin, but ISU Redbird Academy, their composition is too fast. They all can kite away before any significant blow can be dealt. Have to use the sights now. Scouting out this surprise attack from the Mega Pack room will never happen. In fact, Frisco wants to be the one doing the attacking. Pulls everyone in together. Needs to be careful, though. With everyone in that small room, it's not going to end well for a tank, even like that one. Destiny eventually closes it out for Duckland as Rise's blade chops a couple players down to size, and Northeastern Varsity are really struggling to confirm eliminations with this composition.
As they're going to have 3.5 minutes to bring this home and go up 2-0. Still has that Nano available for the side of ISU, as Northeastern is kind of reeling. They have nothing coming up. I mean, you might get this Kitsune rush, but it's going to be a struggle.
Even then, I just see this Nano. Dr. Death's been holding this for so long. That's not normal for an Ana player. You're just waiting for your correct window. You haven't needed it. That is a good pick, though. Hedwig, if you're going to stop a fight before it happens, deal with the sniper. Make sure you can't push. And that's where the staggering can begin. Northeastern, if they can make these fights scrappy, if they can make them chaotic, which is one-off picks like that, 9 times out of 10, they're going to come out on top.
And they're just continuing to slowly trickle, Tiny. At this point, they're going to commit the primal? What is going on here?
I mean, there's 2 picks for ISU Redbirds, but Destiny, Chumbo and Dr. Death, they're not with you. They can't help you out of this situation. He really can't commit further. It's more or less just denying Northeastern high ground, which actually might be really smart in the long run of this. You have, I think it's a Rise on the payload of all players. Inching this closer, it forces the positioning. This is kind of what we saw in Village. You're forcing Northeastern to play back into one corner. The Nano Boost is finally out, and Destiny doesn't really have anywhere to go with it. The Kitsune Rush isn't super contestable on the high. Look how quickly he just gets popped like a balloon. Like, this is what we're starting to see, that stabilization we know Northeastern is capable of. I'm surprised they haven't switched off the Orisa yet, but Frisco's making it work.
Yeah, that was a bad series coming out from ISU. Northeastern just gained 4 of their ults. Vintage has gotten Hedwig, however, and Destiny's now over onto the Wrecking Ball.
They're trying to make this even more scrappy. I mean, Destiny's just playing for the payload at this point. Push it closer, make them come to you. Northeastern, though, have all the tools. On paper, this should be Northeastern's fight. It's just a matter of how many resources can the Redbirds force them to use. Hedwig's as good as dead. Couldn't get back into the spawn rooms, and it's another one. There, everyone just rushes onto the high ground. They're losing this. Northeastern had every tool you could possibly think of, but your Riza's on high ground. Someone's got to get to the payload, people. Oh, no, surely that is not how this map is about to end. Everything was there. It was laid out on a silver platter for Northeastern, yet it's the Redbirds who take it out from right under their noses.
I actually love that adaptation of going over to the Wrecking Ball.
It was so smart.
It was just so good. I mean, Vintage getting Hedwig out from the beginning, and it was so smart for them to know, hey, he's probably out of spawn now, so you could go over and get him again, while Arise, the Wrecking Ball and the Genji together is just remarkable. The slam plus the dashes, Arise and Destiny were just doing a great job, and it's just so much mobility and cart pressure.
ISU Redbird Academy had a direction at pretty much every point through this. Northeastern, I think they had a plan, right? We could see when their executes were, we could see when they were counting to go in. Like, the plan was there. The problem was they never, or really rarely got to confirm those eliminations, right? When we saw Frisco push in, you couldn't get anything. If anyone was going to get a first pick, it was Hedwig on an off chance, and that was about it. The other times, it was just kind of trading back and forth. It was always ISU to come up in that kill feed first, and that put such an advantage towards that team's favor that Northeastern found themselves consistently on the back foot. And I think that last fight, after swapping over to Wrecking Ball, kind of felt like that too. It's this feeling, if you're playing in the past, ISU Redbirds, they moved on to something else, where as Northeastern are still figuring out what direction to take next.
is we're going to have to figure out, can ISU Academy continue the greatness that their college has shown the last few years, or will Northeastern be able to rise up to their previous glory and rise up and come back in a reverse sweep fashion? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be push.
Oh man, this is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey man, grab me a meat stick. I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it. Careful! Oh God! No, come on, just reach. Just grab my hand. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is. Oh.
ISU Redbird Academy, one step away from getting their first win of the season. And Ray, honestly, when I was looking at this match initially, I'm like, surely Northeastern has this, right? On paper, they have the better record. They've beaten the team that just 3-0'd ISU Academy last week. And yet, here we are with the Redbird Academy, one map away from winning the entire series. And it does make me question, where's that Northeastern that we know can be this very strong, coordinated team? Because we just haven't seen it yet. I can see the plans. They have the vision. They have the ideas. But something's not going right within their execution that is preventing them from coming on top.
You have to also keep in mind that, yes, Northeastern, beat the common foe that they had, and this is not saying that Northeastern doesn't have infrastructure, but the infrastructure that the Redbirds have is one of the best in collegiate. So, they have the coaches, and even I'm sure that the varsity team there kind of gives them advice and like, hey, this, that, so they have a lot for them to continue to get better each week and week. So the academy team is only going to get better as the season progresses. For Northeastern, again, I think their support line is just not exactly sure what they want to do. Like the fact that they went from Brig Juno to the swapping the roles, the Brig the Juno, is making me feel like they're not exactly comfortable on that. So either you got to figure out how you want to play that composition, or you need to go to a composition a support comp that you feel more comfortable with.
I think they tried the comfort picks. That's when we saw the Alari come out. The Kiriko too. It's not bad. Like there are some teams that think that the Kiriko is better than the Brig. I'm not on that train. If there's an on the other side, go for it. If not, why the heck are we running the Kiriko here? You want to have that extra brawling power with your Orisa. The medic packs are just too good to pass up, and especially in a map where this is likely leaning towards a more divey angle, if you wanted to push it that way. In Esperanza, the Brig's going to be another asset you're going to want there. This could also be another Orisa point, right? If I remember correctly, from our last time we saw ISU Academy play, these are the exact same 3 maps that we saw in order, not to mention. But this was also when ISU got absolutely steamrolled and ended up going backwards on a reverse sweep trend.
But, do we remember what they did on this map? Do you remember?
They subbed out Vintage.
Yes, they did. And this time they did not do that. Vintage is in. All things should be good because they basically lost out in the Ash diff on this map. I mean, they didn't play an Ash, but the Ash from Briarcliff was absolutely raining terror. So they got Vintage in this time. I think things will go better this time. Who knows? Maybe they still lose it, but it should definitely go better with Vintage in.
Yeah. And I think it's, for Northeastern Varsity, a little bit more positive. Hedwig stepped it up. Back in map 2, looked great on the Widow, gave Vintage a run for his money. It wasn't enough to turn the tides entirely, and it was not his fault. That is more of a team overall execution point, and I think it will be better having these teams Orisa on Orisa. Once again, seeing that difference of QG Hop still on this Kiriko, not opting for the Brig as well. We got the Genji versus the Tracer. I have more faith in Shashi to take out that 1v1. Looked great on it before. It's just, again, this support line. Can Northeastern figure out what they want to do?
As both teams going to play the Orisa once again. But the big difference is Arise is on this Genji as Shashi is on this Tracer. And we got the Chombo Brig against the QG Hop Kiriko. So that's the big differences here. The question is, will the Tracer, which I think is better than the Genji, make up for the difference that I think the Brig is far superior over the Kiriko?
Yeah, we're already seeing it here. You would have, there was an armor pack, perhaps Hedwig could have lived. Still unlikely. Arise is able to get into the backline just fine. And Shashi is just trapped. You're kind of just trapped in the backline, hoping for the best. ISU Redbird Academy at full range of this high ground. Northeastern just have to reset.
And I think this is smart of ISU Academy to make sure you have control of this bridge, especially when you have an Ash to give Vintage just those sight lines to be able to shoot down. That was a great javelin, and they get Duckland.
Oh, Like, that's what I'm telling you. Destiny just looks so good on this Orisa. Usually it's synergized with a Rise, maybe a Dynamite from Vintage. Didn't even need it that time. Like, you're just accurate. You're hitting the shots you need to do so and flat out ignoring Frisco. Frisco isn't getting this tank-on-tank engagement that he's been wanting. Arise once again shuts down Shashi. It's Arise coming up massive here. It's been the Vintage show so far, and Arise wants us to say his name a little more.
Yeah, he basically wants me to, you know, put a sock in it. Like, he's like, hey, listen, this Genji is just as good as the Tracer. And I'm like, listen, I think when played at their best, the Tracer is going to do better. But you are absolutely killing it on the Genji so far, Arise. And the Solberg coming in is going to be danger territory for Arise. You're going to have to play a lot more carefully.
Oh, and he misses all the shurikens onto the Sombra. Hedwig was as good as dead there. A bit of a fumble from Redbird Academy, but you got the checkpoint that you wanted long ago, so it's not the end of the world if you lose this, and you may not even lose it. As a headshot to Shashi almost immediately afterwards. Destiny has the support, just doesn't stay within it. That's a bit of a yikes here. Northeastern Varsity have much more room to breathe here and should be able to start closing this out, but it's not going to be cheap. That's at least full support committed.
The question is, can they even close it out? They're down so many at this point. Arise and Chumbo are still alive, and I mean, say that Chumbo goes down, and that's pretty much the... can Arise really clutch it? There's no way.
No.
What?
He's pulling out the blade. He's gonna do it. He's taking it. And I don't know why you dashed at a Tracer, but he's trying his hardest to get this done. ISU Redbird Academy, the definition of never give up, never surrender, for sure. It's not great, but it does force Northeastern Varsity to finally make that support swap. Ducklin on the brick now. Hugie Hop taking up that Juno.
And now we get another fight at this bridge as Destiny is trying to apply some pressure. Vintage still has his Bob they can throw in at any point to buy some time, but this EMP from Hedwig is just around the corner.
I knew the supports were coming there. Read that like a book. Vintage! Oh, what a flick. Yeah, you better be standing still after that. That was insane from Vintage. I mean, you cannot underestimate what this guy does. Thank you, producer, for this replay. Reads the support push, gets the flick onto the Tracer, 1-2 taps, and jeez. Like, this is why we need to keep Vintage in, people.
3-piece and a biscuit for Vintage, man. Looking great on that Ash. However, this EMP could absolutely be deadly and win the fight with just that alone. Hedwig has to be ready to take full advantage of this. Frisco's on the Winston too, which now they're just trying to dive this Genji.
Yeah, or really just Vintage. The EMP is good, and that's a clean fight win for the Huskies. You needed a change of pace. I'm surprised only now we're seeing Frisco going over to the Genji, considering the entirety of last map. But if whatever works for the Huskies here to get a map off, I'm happy with.
Yeah, because Vintage and Arise on that Ash and Genji are extremely vulnerable to the Winston dive, so swapping over is good. But we do see Vintage making a swap over to the Cassidy now. So being able to have the stun grenade to be able to use on the Winston to slow him down just a little bit and throw down a lot of damage could be helpful.
You kind of just exist as a living threat to any dive character so far. This is a lot. I'm already liking this a lot more. Ducklin being on the brig, able to get in there to slap some people around, and the Winston is taking advantage of how grouped up some of these players are, more specifically Vintage and the two supports. It is traded out decently well. The Huskies should have enough of an upper hand, though, to actually get some progress towards this checkpoint.
And they're going to get away, which is great because they'll be able to re-engage the full team before this point comes in. And they're going to have the orbital ray and the rally on land to sustain. And then Arise should be able to get this blade just in time.
We'll have the orbital rays on either end, along with Frisco's primal rage. It is hacked out, though. The recent swaps not looking too hot right now. Will be a Rise with the dash through. It's on Shashi, though. That's a stick and a melee to finish off two. Northeastern very much into this fight. Ducklin, a great assist, yes, but Arise hasn't had his time to shine yet. Pulls out the Dragon Blade, grabs one, helps Destiny with both supports now. Gets to the high ground, manages to live for as long as possible, and that was Northeastern's fight. It should have been Northeastern's fight, Ray, and yet it's always Arise wanted to be a problem.
Getting a huge stop from that payload reaching the checkpoint puts ISU's chances of winning this that much greater. Vintage, I mean, you're gonna have a high noon. That's why maybe you get this. Maybe you get this primal. But again, Hedwig with the EMP. We saw what happened last time. It was the first step into a nice snowball that Northeastern was able to put together. That might be what we're looking at once again.
That'll be that EMP. Yeah, full supports falling like dominoes. It's this execution play. It's not Northeastern have great planning. They have great initial plays. They just can never manage to get those eliminations that they want first. It's only here in this bird map with these EMPs, with Hedwig on the Sombra, that it's actually happening. The saddest part is, though, they don't do it nearly as cleanly, that it can allow for some deaths to happen. This time, though, not enough to force the bot around.
But with how long it took them and the amount of stalling it did on the cart, I think ISU, once again, is going to have a chance to contest this cart before it gets to the checkpoint. If they move fast enough, it's going to really depend. It looks like they will be able to check just in time, which is huge. Yeah. Vintage has a high noon to be able to force positioning away. Masashi does have the pulse bomb.
He's looking for it too. It's the hack onto the Juno. Great execution. Hedwig on the Sombra is like the golden ticket for Northeastern Varsity. They finally found something that is working out for them. But again, they get the first pick. What do you do after that? You end up staying a little bit too long. It gets extremely scrappy, and slowly but surely, the Huskies are proving that they can withstand these elongated fights. They'll grab the checkpoint off the back of it. QG Hop will make sure of that. ISU Redbird Academy, this is getting pretty close, Ray.
That it is ISU. I just don't know if I like the Cassidy as much. I mean, it's a great deterrent to Shashi and the Winston, but at the same time, Shashi's kind of just ignoring him and going after the backline regardless.
And like, this is the initiation too. Like, Vintage can try to slow this down with a dead eye. He gets stuck and no one is even there to peek it in the first place. Throw it away, push it through. Is someone going to contest this point? No. ISU Academy just opted to forfeit the lead. And I say opt. Destiny was already dead. You didn't have anyone to touch. But Ray, this is huge for the Huskies. Look at all those little shiny buttons.
Exactly. They are in such a good position. This EMP alone should gain them so much cart distance.
Wow.
They are now in the driver's seat. So you see Vintage going over to the Swedish man, the Torbjorn, ready for work.
I mean, he's not going to last very long with an EMP in play. That's both your supports and tank hitting the deck. I mean, ISU Redbird Academy, they're lost. They don't know what to do with Hedwig. For the first time, Northeastern are taking the pace into their hands. This is why they are in Division 1.
Yeah, the Sombra swap was the key to all of this, as we do see that Arise did go over to the Tracer as well, which I think is better than playing the Genji at this point, but I don't know about the Torb. I mean, the Torb turret is a good deterrent from both the Sombra and the Tracer, but still, I don't know if it's enough.
I mean, it should be. This time around, ISU Academy have the ultimate advantage. And they just need to catch somebody out with it. But no, it's the other way around. Northeastern Varsity took advantage of ISU going deep, hunting for an elimination, and punished them right back for it. Destiny has consistently been the first one to die. And Northeastern Varsity, they're about to full cap on this point. They're getting body blocked at the gate. Someone's got to get there from the Redbirds. Are they going to be able to get the touch? Yes, Destiny has the Primal Rage as well. It's still very winnable at this point, but Northeastern Varsity, you don't even need to get these final meters with how much of space you have. Please tell me someone touches the card. Thank you. Arise back towards the objective, trying to be the hero, but it doesn't matter. They get off. They can't maintain it long enough. And oh my gosh, Ray, I'm getting a feeling of deja vu. The Huskies back in this series.
It was just very well played, and honestly at the beginning it looked like ISU was going to just steamroll to a victory, but it was great adaptations coming out from Northeastern. Hedwig going to the Sombra and them swapping over to the Winston composition really went through. Arise playing on this Genji, there wasn't a whole lot you could do about a Sombra and a Winston in your face, and eventually you forced ISU to swap, but at that point they were just lost and didn't know how to deal with Hedwig anymore on the Sombra.
Yeah. Hedwig was the hero of the day, and Hedwig, yes, did great individually on the Sombra, very clear, but the one thing that I think Northeastern needed was a clearer win con. They needed some play that they could just pull off easily, like chucking a virus at somebody, having Frisco leap in to follow it. Shashi chucks in a couple of bullets, and guess what? You got yourself some elimination. The struggles that Northeastern had before in kind of finishing off these kills, even though they had the correct fight plan to start off, became no longer as soon as Hedwig being on the Sombra gave them that sense of direction and guarantee that was needed.
as now we got a series on our hands, folks. 2-1 in favor of the ISU Redbirds Academy team. We know map number 4, at least type-wise. You got a choice between Flashpoint and Clash. So Redbirds will get a pick, Flashpoint or Clash. And we all know it's going to be Flashpoint. I would be surprised.
We did play Flash. We can do it. Didn't we play? We played Flashpoint last week, sure, but Clash has been rising up. People are getting more comfortable on it, Ray. You want to put someone out of your comfort zone? You pick Clash.
I mean, I don't know.
You can do it. I'm not saying we have to enjoy it. I'm just saying. I think it's more likely than we think it could be.
I don't know.
I can see the gears turning.
No, I'm a Clash apologist. I'm known
You're a
for
Clash
being
apologist.
Yeah, I like Clash. So I just think it's not popular enough yet. I think we'll probably more than likely get Flashpoint. But also, you know, I'm personally of the belief where I don't think a mode is truly complete in Overwatch until you have at least 4 maps of it. So Push is now complete. It's got 4 maps. Flashpoint and Clash, they're not there yet. We need some more maps of both varieties.
That's why we call it Flash and Clash. That's what they called it in OWCS, and I thought it was great. It sounds like the name of a fight night or something. Like, come down to the Flash and Clash. It's gonna be great. I don't know. It's cheesy.
First rule of Flash and Clash: you don't talk about Flash and Clash.
True. That's from a movie. I don't know which one it is.
You're too young. You're too young. It's okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
Making me feel old.
We watch Overwatch instead of movies. That's how we roll in this household.
Fair.
Hey, but this is great Overwatch, to be totally fair. I literally wrote this series off as over about about when there's about 4 minutes left on the clock before Northeastern really turned it around. I literally closed my note sheet because I'm like, oh, this is done. This is over. There's not a chance this happens. And then I had to quickly do my Control-Shift-T. All right, let's open this baby back up because we are very much still going into this series. We did find an answer for Northeastern, but Ray, I think relying on the Sombra is going to be risky. I feel like this is something that can get shut down relatively easily, and especially when I look at a Flashpoint or Clash sort of nature, you're really not going to be able to play that composition again.
I knew it. We got confirmation we're going to Flashpoint.
I just wanted to say Flash and Clash.
You just had to find an excuse to say it, huh?
It was fun. Come on, you can't not smile and say Flash and Clash. It's great.
You do have the map pick in, and you know, when it comes to Flashpoint, it's kind of been 50-50 recently on which map we go to. At first, everyone preferred Saravasa over New Junk City, but it's kind of been 50-50 recently from what I've seen. But this time, we are going to Saravasa.
Yeah, Saravasa it was the favorite child. This is our Flashpoint map. We are always going here every time. And then it was New Junk City who made a comeback. I think that did have to do with the meta switch, though. When you got more Brawly, you're using a lot more Mei. Venture, it's going to do better on that type of Flashpoint, where as we look at a Saravasa, on the other hand, it's a bit more open. You're thinking about map coverage or space coverage overall, so the compositions look slightly different in that regard. This is ISU Redbird Academy's pick, though, so I am curious to see what they roll out on. I think this is the first variant that we've gotten. Okay, I don't know why I said that. I knew what they were doing. This is exactly what we expected to see. This is a different map pick, though, than last time. Last time they lost, they picked New Junk City, but this time it's at Saravasa, so we're not completely sticking to the script.
One thing I'm going to be very interested to see, Tiny, is I'm curious if... Okay. I saw the Lucio Juno, and I know I've seen that comp before, even in OWCS, but I don't like it. It's way too fragile. I'm not a fan of it, but good. Life is good. We're going to bring Juno on both sides.
Northeastern have learned their lesson. They settled into their support line, just like we knew that they would if this was going to turn around, and look where we are. Big thing here, though, Hedwig sticking to the Sombra. As I said, it is not going to be as easy to run. Destiny is much more favored on this point of the map. It's open. You don't have these little like rooms of cover dive behind. It's on these executions, and that's what it is. Hedwig identifies the target, gives Frisco, gives Shashi the clear picture of what needs to happen, and they get it done. The execution that Northeastern is missing has not skipped a beat yet.
I will say that is like the one hero you can get away with that execution on. I think everyone else, because Vintage is going to stay back closer to the supports and look for angles, and the Orisa is just too beefy. So as we already see Vintage making a swap off of the Ashe over to the Cassidy to try and help deal with that with the flashbang and stuff like that. But yeah, so the Genji's the only one you can get away with those plays against.
Sorry, I was laughing because you said Orisa was too beefy. I'm like, well, that's what she's called the battle cattle. But that was really I'm sorry, I had to get that out of my head. Oh, we're back into some Overwatch. Northeastern, it's Hedwig. I don't even know what to say. It's the same thing. Northeastern are just, it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. There's a second one from Hedwig's virus kills. You do not miss that ability. It is so good at just these doing this tick damage. You don't need too much more put on top of it. If it's just the Sombra or 2 other players on it, Northeastern are working this to perfection. I don't even think they've lost a player so far.
They haven't, and that was the other thing I was going to say, like,
what a turn.
The Vintage is also pretty vulnerable to the Sombra, so I'm a little surprised they're going to go to that. I do like this, Destiny going over to the Junker Queen, which can apply a lot more pressure in these brawly situations onto Frisco with this Winston, and then the Junker Queen's not as vulnerable to the Sombra.
You're playing this in a counter dive sense. You're going to use the commanding shell to negate the damage that this virus does, along with the jump from the Orisa. Or Hedwig can just get poked out immediately. That also works very well here. I like this from Destiny. It just deters a lot of this pressure that Northeastern are looking to apply. They still have to win the race to the orbital ray, and there's not much that the Redbird Academy can do about it. Just try to keep Chombo and Dr. Death alive, but he gets separated from the rest of the team. That's not a player you want to lose at a time like that, and it's just going to be a 1 ult, 1 fight win for Northeastern, and that's going to be massive for the future of their economy.
You did lose QG Hot, but you win the fight, you flip the point. And the good thing is, in the meantime, during that fight, what would have been disastrous is if Northeastern had the cap the entire time. Redbirds was able to make sure they had someone on point, denying that cap while the team got wiped, so it's not as devastating with the percentage-wise coming back. And they're going to have a lot of ults online, but so is Northeastern. But they did use that orbital ray, so...
I mean, it's EMP. Surely you don't lose that. Yeah, no. You use EMP, you put a pulse bomb on top of it just for good luck, you know, and that's it. That Northeastern, it's just 2 back-to-back fight wins. No Elim still from the Redbird Academy. Want to point that one out.
Yeah, it is looking rough as it is looking like the same script and same play as last week. The Redbirds have to find a way to adjust and get back in here. This Sombra has just been throwing them for a loop.
And here's the thing, Vintage is great at the hit scan, but you just can't make it work in this type of environment. He's turned into more of a liability, and it makes it harder for even the fights that you do have advantages, like the orbital ray, to win. Northeastern Varsity can back off and not give it a second thought, re-engage with the rally, and suddenly you're back into this fight. It's onto a rise now, to slash and dash their way through. There's ISU Redbirds in the kill feed, as they should be. But it doesn't seem like it's enough. They're at a disadvantage. It's a 3v2, if I'm not mistaken. Destiny is the Rampage. We'll have to pop it, but no! It gets canceled midway through. That's Northeastern Varsity. They're going to shut Redbird Academy out. 200 to 0 so far. They only need 1 more flashpoint.
You absolutely cannot use that Rampage in that situation. It was already a 2v3. It was just in a bad spot. There was no winning there. Even if you got the Rampage off, there just wasn't enough follow-up. So big mistake there coming out from Destiny as they go over to the Winston now, and they do have Vintage go to Sombra as well.
I don't think they've done this yet because Vintage isn't comfortable on Sombra. That's the only reason I can think of why a team like the ISU Redbird Academy, who can make these smart decisions, hasn't swapped. So this can be a very comfortable thing. You just don't have a choice but to match it and make it work in the best that you can. Frisco's already under a ton of pressure. The pulse bomb, though, getting Chombo. You're at an ult disadvantage. You swapped your entire comp. Northeastern were expected to win this fight to begin with, but hopefully the Redbirds can now have a much better fighting chance.
Yeah, you wish you could have gotten maybe Orbital Ray out of it, but that Sashi getting the big post one on Chombo basically ended the fight right then and there. No Brig, and then all the problems for ISU. So Northeastern was able to clean up that pretty quickly, and now Hedwig's going to have this EMP. So this is going to be another fight where ISU is up a creek without a paddle.
You just gotta kind of cut your losses at it. Northeastern have the 2 best ultimates in their arsenal right now, and they might lose a Rise outright. It just forces the recall. Sashi can chase if they want to, but he's gonna opt to stay more with the team. Hedwig has this EMP, doesn't need it yet, but you might now. QG Hop goes down, and was the Orbital Ray completely canceled? Didn't even go, I don't see it anywhere. I think the ult got canceled. That's very rare to see from a Juno altogether. That was Northeastern's fight to win, yet it's ISU who find themselves in a window. Northeastern waited too long to act.
Yeah, that's a big time fight win for ISU. Getting QG Hop out early and not allowing Hedwig to get that EMP out. But I think it was smart from Hedwig once they lost QG Hop. Probably not worth it to commit the EMP. Just look to re-engage with it. So that's the thing you have to worry about if you're ISU. Not when you get a big pulse bomb on the top.
Yeah, once you let there's a little crack in your defenses. Oh, buddy, the floodgates are opening. ISU Redbird Academy, they're such a momentum-based team, and it's kind of been thrown around so far. They were doing so good this entire series, got thrown on the back foot, stayed that way for a while, but now the wind's back in their sails.
This EMP comes up on top of Dr. Death.
Yeah, the EMP came out there as a response, though, from Vintage. They actually ends up hitting a little bit more. There's not too much support left to go around. Chombo popping the rally might be the saving grace for Redbird Academy. Can't quite say the same for Vintage. Northeastern will get this point flip back, and if your Redbird don't have another chance at fully contesting this, mind you, you have to complete this, and you have to close it out now, regardless of how much staggering it happens.
Point flip back for ISU. The rally is now used for Northeastern. They're trying to win back this fight, Tiny.
I mean, they're getting in there as fast as they can. It's another pulse bomb set from Shashi. I don't think he's missed one so far today. It's just not enough. The flashy plays are great, yes, but so is Vintage's Sombra. ISU Redbird just said, hey, Northeastern, we can do this too, and we'll make sure they at least get one on the board for Surabasa.
And again, things have looked a lot better now that they've matched this composition. I think that's just been the problem for ISU is they've been afraid to go over to it. But I think Vintage, all things considered, has been playing okay on this Sombra. Yeah, I do think Hedwig has had a slight advantage, but it's not been a massive Sombra gap or anything. Vintage is doing his thing.
He's okay. He's okay. Everything's okay. That was a bit of a Sombra night terror where you like get jump scared. You're like, what just happened? Thankfully, everyone's okay to live another day. Rise doesn't have a pulse bomb though. We've seen how good Shashi is with these ultimates. Let's see if the Rise is. Not quite. A little bit over the Winston's shoulder. So Frisco just felt that one whiz right past. Redbird Academy on the high ground here. They're trying to dive bomb Northeastern from above. Hack on to Frisco doesn't do a whole lot in this situation, especially if you can just re-engage with an orbital ray of your own. Redbird Academy smartly kiting out of the way, letting the Huskies get the first bit of percentage, hoping to re-engage with, ideally, their Winston soon.
Which both teams don't have any key ultimates on. Hedwig is very, very, very close to this EMP, and so is Vintage. But Hedwig will likely get this online first. Does he look to make the aggressive play immediately with it?
You can wait a little bit, honestly, but what's the point? You see that all movement cooldowns are used. Why not pop it when ISU Redbird Academy are at their most vulnerable? Very smart decision from the Sombra player, and Hedwig. Northeastern should be able to just snowball this on forwards. It's really only Destiny around that's the real threat for ISU Redbird Academy since Vintage is dead, doesn't have the EMP back up in time, and we'll have to go ahead and try to forfeit this. Mind you, if this doesn't end quickly, ISU Redbird Academy, they don't get another 4 flight ray.
Yeah, but they do get QG Hop, which is huge. But can Vintage get away? Oh, they get the flip.
He got the flip. I don't think it's going to last long, though. What do you really have to sustain that out with? Got a Rise, I guess. And the Redbirds have saved up their ultimates for quite some time. Rise has not had good luck with these pulse bombs so far either. And there's that EMP. The EMP needs to be the difference maker on both DPS and the tank. And that's the follow-up, guys, you wanted, but it's a slow burn. It's scrappy. Compared to what we've seen from the Redbirds this entire series so far, Ray, this is a much more back-and-forth sort of play style.
but it did gain them a lot of percentage just for that fight. So I think you're going to take that if you're ISU. Now, really, this comes down to one final fight. However, Sashi right here has that pulse bomb, hasn't missed in a very long time, and Duckland with this rally could go through. But if ISU gets aggressive with the orbital ray, they could end things right here and now.
It'll be ISU going first, but this response from Northeastern, it's going to be monumental from them. Frisco under pressure, but not enough of it to run away. Pulse bomb from Sashi yet to go out. Hasn't seen the opportunity, the window for it, because their main target is already dead. Chombo's hit the deck. That's sustained for ISU. Is down. Ray, the Huskies, going to close out, at least get the flip onto the objective. Is anyone from the Redbirds still around? It's just Vintage, but he's being chased down by every member of Northeastern varsity. Ray, we might just see ourselves all the way to a map 5. No, this series can't get much closer.
Shoutouts to Northeastern. They made their necessary adjustments, and it has been going extremely well. One has to wonder, Tiny, if the Redbirds had just come onto this map and matched them to begin with, what would have happened? Because that was a way closer series when that happened. So map number 5, I think, could go a totally different way if ISU comes out and matches them. And you know, maybe they sub out Vintage and they bring in someone who's even more comfortable in the summer. We're going to have to find that out. But I think this is, I mean, we have one more map number 5, and I think ISU has seen the way to get back with this. They got a mirror.
Northeastern were just digging and digging into the toolbox, looking for something, until they finally struck gold. And it's Ben Hedwig on the Sombra leading the charge of it, along with the rest of this team, playing this more divey composition. And if you recall what we were talking about at the beginning of the series, Ray, you know how ISU Redbirds, they ended up losing last week? It's because of this dive comp. They couldn't find a way to properly adapt to it. And I genuinely think they took so long to swap because they haven't practiced it enough. They've been very good, very solid on this Orisa, Vintage on the hit scan, and it is a true hit scan player. Doesn't have as much flexibility as they might in somebody such as Lou coming in, who we saw a little bit on the flex DPS last week. Like, this is just an ISU Redbirds who needs to go back to the drawing board. You need to make these decisions in a quick fashion, because as we just saw, if you let Northeastern get this far ahead, they're not going to go down without a fight. And I am honestly very impressed with the Huskies and how good of a turnaround this has been for them.
Well, folks, with their backs against the wall, the Huskies have forced a map number 5. ISU now has one last chance to respond before letting the spaghetti drop again. We have one final map that we're going to find out what it is right after this.
What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't watch it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there. No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you covered. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
He's breathing. On the other side.
Go.
I can't.
Just-
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Yeah, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky. Hey, get the stick.
Yeah.
Hey, did you get the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
that this series would be over in quick 3 maps. We'd have 2 3-0s on the day, but no. We find ourselves back in another map 5 with ISU Academy. Their first win of the season was so close, Ray. They could taste it in that 3rd map, but it wasn't until Northeastern finally found their golden ticket, their way out in this Winston Tracer Sombra composition, and it has looked flawless. Hedwig leading the charge, and they've managed to pull it back to a map 5, and the reverse sweep, very much a possibility.
That it is. The big question is, where pre-tail is our final map choice going to be? And it is a little bit shocking. It is Watch Point Gibraltar, which is like the perfect playground for this comp that Northeastern has reverse swept on. So very shocked to see that. But maybe ISU is just going to full commit and match them.
And you know why I think ISU picked this map? ISU picked this map not necessarily because they want to run this Tracer Sombra. They know that Northeastern can do that. But it's because of Vintage. Vintage has popped off in Nepal, on Blizzard World. He's the one that defined the series so far for the ISU Redbird Academy. But as soon as the composition switched, as soon as the tables turned, he just isn't as comfortable on anything outside of hit scan. You pick this map so you can put Vintage on Widow, and there's not a doubt about it. You want him to, you know that he can beat out Hedwig if he tries to mirror it, so you're just forcing Northeastern into an uncomfortable situation. Ray, don't even think about commenting on that. You are totally getting baited.
I wasn't going to comment on it.
Yeah?
I was just going to talk about how they're on Brig Anna instead of Brig Juno. I'm like, which is fine.
Sense.
I mean,
with
you're
Winston,
playing the Winston.
Yeah, that's pretty common. Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, I think the Brig Juno's better, but I mean, Brig Anna's still good. I mean, anti-nades come through strong, and then I just think the Nano's always going to be good, especially when you're playing Genji or Winston. And yeah, no surprises here. Northeastern's going to go with what got them here.
Yeah, if you switch up at this point, I'd be asking some serious questions. It's literally, ISU Redbird picked this map, and they're like, Vintage, go nuts. Right? You know that Hedwig will not match him on the Widowmaker. He's uncontested. He's going to have free reign. Shashi, Hedwig, Frisco need to make this guy's life miserable to have a chance within this game.
Problem is, he's playing in a really good position where it's going to be tougher for the Sombra and the Tracer to get up there and apply pressure to him. But that does give them a lot of free card space, and Destiny's down. That's bad.
It's always Hedwig. Hedwig pulled the hack out mid-jump. Frisco, it's all that the opportunity was there. Destiny got straight up denied, and this payload's already through the underpass. Northeastern can fully start attacking this high ground whatever they want to. Vintage hasn't had sightlines. Vintage has hit maybe one shot throughout this whole time, and he's just dead. This isn't going to work, and this is the problem. If ISU Academy cannot make this Widowmaker, cannot make this Ana happen, their series, they might find themselves getting reverse swept.
It's already not looking great for the side of ISU Academy. Chombo goes down, point is capped, and that was just clockwork for Northeastern, and this is just getting worse by the second.
I'm sorry, did our teams, did they just switch accounts? Did they switch names? What happened to ISU Academy that we're just steamrolling the first half of this series?
See, look, they're matching now. They're matching the comp.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got 5 minutes to defend this point.
If this ends up working in their favor,
the
big question is going to be, why didn't they just come out on this to begin with? Anyway, but Northeastern hasn't had to use an ult. They got 4 coming online, but great anti-nade. Duckling goes down.
That's why you want to put Dr. Death on that hero. Do trade it out for your Brig player. Not an ideal situation, especially when Orbital Ray is up. The sleep on the Frisco helps sustain a little longer. Dr. Death still will face his own demise. Northeastern in a bit of a roadblock. They don't have Hedwig to pull the EMP, and it doesn't really even seem like they need it. They clean up their stragglers here.
Yeah, but the players for ISU will be back perfectly in time. They're not going to be able to get this cap, so the Northeastern's either going to have to commit more ults or look to back up and re-engage at this point.
The nice part is you get the drop, so you don't have to commit your jump to actually contest. Frisco, though, does decide to leap in. You're afraid of that EMP happening. Chombo doesn't get hit, and that's actually enough to keep them alive. It was the shield bash into Hedwig, and that's the first time we've seen ISU Redbirds withstand the pressure of an EMP, and it couldn't come at a better time. They were full on bleeding out. All the life support was blinking here. Put a bandage on it, and they're starting to look a little better.
That fight was monumental, Tiny. They used 3 ults, did Northeastern, and ISU only committed their primal and their rally. That puts them in a great position for these next few maps. You're going to have this EMP to work with, and you have the nano to throw it onto whoever you please. Likely going to be Destiny, but ISU now puts themselves on the front foot.
Yeah, and they lose Vintage mid EMP. I mean, that EMP didn't get much value either. It's really on Destiny to kind of maintain this space, but you're playing into a rally Brig, and Duckland isn't dying. I can tell you that much. Too much armor health, too much to really withstand that. Bionade could have helped. The timing just seems off, and like that's what it's been for ISU Redbird Academy. Northeastern, you said it yourself, Ray, working like clockwork where ISU, they're out of sync. They can't make these pieces click together in ways like that, and that's how you end up staggering. Destiny goes down. That's your main point of contest in this final hour. You to try to fight it through. When you don't have that, it's on Chombo to make a difference. Somehow finds a battle against Duckland, which arguably shouldn't have been able to be taken in the first place, and they still managed to hold on at this point.
Vintage and Arise on these 2 DPS are coming through clutch, and ISU's ability to stall on the point has been clutch enough to allow their DPS players to make those plays in the backline. I believe Vintage got 2 and Arise got 2 in that fight, so that's exactly what you need from ISU. The question is, they did withstand the last EMP, but another one is just around the corner. Big ante on a GG pop, but they're able to withstand it.
It'll be the orbital ray first, but there's that Shashi pulse bomb. It's always onto Chombo. It's like, I made this just for you. Rise spawns with a similar way. Parting gift for Duckland, and the EMP finally comes out, but what is it going to do? That gets 2 for sure. You gotta take a little bit of time, take a breather, reset yourself. You don't have the health, and Chombo, you couldn't save Destiny in time. Tried to pop the shield and some sort of inspire. Northeastern were just too far ahead to be stopped. Surely, this is the time that they can cap the objective. They've looked like they've been able to do it the past 2 fights, and I've eaten my own words, and Vintage might make sure of it for a 3rd time. Dr. Death returns, has the nano boost, and it's Northeastern that have to run for the hills.
Absolutely ridiculous.
How?
Destiny did come back onto the Diva to come back even faster. The Diva also provides the ability to put a lot of pressure on a Frisco with those micro missiles. And we did see at one point there was a Lucio on the field for Northeastern. Not a big fan of that. I'm assuming it was just to get back and try and cap that point as they go back over to the Brig. But still,
Dude,
Vintage now has the CMP.
I mean, the Huskies have been inches away from winning these fights. It's just something happens. Something goes wrong. The ISU Redbird are grasping out straws. They manage to land one, and it's just it. They turn it around. That's all they need. A momentum-based sort of team. Vintage pops the EMP. Not a fan of that. Way too late on that counter dive. You are already down Dr. Death, and Northeastern full steam ahead. Surely, this is the time. Surely, the Huskies can make this happen. As long as they deal with Arise, this Juno is in deep trouble. No! They get the second. Both supports are dead. Now they're dealt with, sure, but Northeastern to close this out 6 because any damage they take is now permanent. Destiny's back in the fight. There's no shot. The Redbirds are about to clutch this out for a 4th time in a row. That is the entire 5-minute time make. I thought this was over since the beginning, but the Redbird Academy do not want to go 3-0 on this season and will manage to make this a 2-point game.
And again, it's Arise and Vintage coming through in the clutch. So Destiny was able to, it's been Destiny stalling on the point long enough to allow Vintage and Arise to make plays on the Sombra and on the Tracer. Second to last fight, it was Vintage, came through with 3 picks. Then in that last one, it was Arise who got 2 picks, and then Destiny was able to follow up. So it's that DPS and tank that are stalling and finding picks to buy their team enough time to get back and make things happen. Very clutch plays coming out from ISU. Like, I think all in all, Northeastern has been a little bit more calculated and a little bit more in sync, but the clutchness from ISU has just been overpowering that.
Like, if you do that once, you get a clutch like that once, you're like, hey, that was pretty cool, go us. But to do that 4 fights in a row, Ray? Like, come on. That just doesn't happen. Like, I've never seen anything like that where a team goes down so hard early and pulls out clutches like that. Like, it's absolutely nothing. They make it look effortless. And it is an insane thing. Like, from a mental standpoint on Northeastern, to know that you were that close to capping, but there was just so much clutch potential on the other side, that can't be a feel good. And when you're going on this defense, you fought so hard to get to a map 5, the Huskies cannot let it affect them now.
It all comes down to this. Second point was 79.73 meters. Essentially, you got to cap second point if you are ISU. Vintage going to open up on the Widow, which on the attacking side, I like this because at any point you can go and swap to Sombra if you do need to, but Widow can find a good pick.
This is the 1v1 we want to watch. Yes, two Winstons tickling each other. That's very fun. Very, very exhilarating team to play. We'll beat the swaps over to the Sombra, though. That was more to be expected. Almost complete mirror cops. Only difference, Dr. Death on the Ana. And the Juno for QG Pop. That's the Bionade you're playing for. And as a Vintage pulling out the broom, sweeping up the broken, or rather purple, pieces of Northeastern Varsity.
As this is now going to be in a spot for ISU where they just got to win one more fight to get this first point. I mean, it's going just as fast as it did for Northeastern, but the question is, can Northeastern clutch up to the level that ISU has been?
I don't think any team can ever repeat that. Like, that is a insane series of clutching events that I love to watch. Frisco's hit with a Bionade. It's Dr. Det here that's now the one that's flipping the scales in favor of the Redbirds. So not enough to kill him, but it's enough to make sure that Duckland and QG Hop have to poke their heads out further than they would like, and that's exactly what Destiny is looking to capitalize on. You do lose Frisco, though. Duckland, sliver of HP, trying to escape and denies the chase altogether. While this is going on, Destiny was so occupied with his solo mission that the rest of his team is kind of crumbled behind him. Redbird Academy have to reset. The Huskies do get that foothold that their opponent could not.
Yeah, it did look like at one point Destiny was on that one-track mind to make something happen, and it just didn't work. The one thing I'm nervous about for ISU, Tiny, is the EMP significant advantage that Northeastern's going to have. Basically 30% difference. So, and that ult is just so game changing. I mean, we did see ISU withstand a couple of them on that defense there, but it's going to be tough because once you see the attacking team commit and jump in, you just EMP them.
Yeah, it is Northeastern that do use their ultimates a little bit earlier, but the battle's won on the point. It's not contested. They have to go back, but it forces them to split up more than you would like. Northeastern had a bigger ult advantage in the beginning of this fight, and it's Frisco that's coming back and quite literally swinging arms around, just flailing at anything that he can manage to grab. You just don't have a team to back it up. That EMP that we were talking about, the one that we thought the Huskies should be using first, never actually happened. ISU Redbirds will get the first point without that fight we wanted.
I mean, both teams use the exact same ult, except Shashi also threw in that pulse bomb. So advantage to ISU because they're going to have a pulse bomb they can throw in for this next fight. But I think it's just going to come down to who gets more aggressive with this EMP, because I feel like whoever uses it first, the second one just looks to save it for next time as Hedwig gets sent back to the spawn room. 3.5 minutes left for ISU to cap point B.
And they'll get the point. There's something's got to happen here. This is a big time pick. It's not like it hasn't been done before. We literally just saw it. But with ISU Redbirds, they're getting aggressive. Vintage wants to throw this EMP. Frisco jumps on him before that can even happen. His payload creeping dangerously closer to that golden box of victory. ISU Redbirds can taste it, but it's not the pulse bomb that Arise wanted to have. Northeastern can feel the floodgates back in their sails. Just a matter if Hedwig or Vintage, who's going to pull that EMP first? Or do they even need it in the first place? That's a support's collapse on Hedwig. Still popped the trigger. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Whatever the Huskies need to do, you're going to want that back. My goodness.
That fight was already won for Northeastern. You did not need that. Now Vintage can re-engage with an EMP for their team. That might be the kiss of death for Northeastern. It's going to depend on how ISU takes advantage of the EMP for themselves, because the cart is right there, Tiny. It's only going to take one clean team fight win for ISU to bring this home.
if either of the supports can stay out of this EMP, the Huskies have a chance. You're so close to both Rally and Orbital Ray, and that's the one way you can attempt to weather the storm. It's just that the ISU have time on their side. They can afford to take chip damage or more of that to make it happen, but it is that Orbital Ray. It comes out before the EMP. QG Hop had the timing right, and everyone is still on their feet. Now it's the second wind. Destiny coming into the back line. Even trades across the board. Neither team has a support. It's going to be scrappy, but it's the Huskies that have kept it toe-to-toe, blow-to-blow. It's just Arise taking on Shashi. The pulse bomb cannot land for this player, and it looks close for sure, but it's Northeastern who will slip ahead.
Oh, so close. A minute and a half. So we're looking at probably 2 more fights. Where in this next one, we're really just going to get primals going at it, which this could decide it because Northeastern is a little bit further ahead on both EMP and Pulse Bomb, so they're going to have the advantage in the final fight. I think if ISU really wants to clutch this, they got to bring it home on this fight.
That last one, that was the fight that ISU Redbird, they needed to take. That was the one that all of their tools were dumped into. You don't have that luxury anymore. This is going to have to be the good old-fashioned execution, which Northeastern have looked better on this composition so far. Hedwig, forced out of position, can get caught. Vintage gets the final blow. Redbird Academy have the Primal Rage should they need it, and you might need to do so. Vintage at least gets another one before he falls. This payload inching closer and closer. Northeastern are running out of options. Their supports are both dead. Briscoe has all the sustain that you need on this payload. Primal Rage is out, but Destiny somehow, Shashi blinks off the map. You can't get your Tracer back into the line of play, and that might just be it. The Huskies were so close. They could taste it. They almost had this reverse sweep, and it was a great game so far, and they just ran out of steam at the tail end. The Redbird Academy wanted their first win. They've been close every week so far, but it's only here in week number 3, Ray, that they can manage to do it.
And what a relief that has to be, Tiny, for what they've been through this season, on the brink of another reverse sweep happening to them, to come through and clutch like they did on the defense and then bring it home on this attack. Absolutely kismet for the side of the Academy of Redbirds.
This has got to be one of my favorite matches that I have casted in a hot minute. Not only was it a fun series, but it's one where you could see the blood, sweat, and tears of both teams poured into this game. It was back and forth. We had moments where one was just dominating over the other, then it was flipped just like that. Northeastern, they found the answer that they were looking for. Hedwig couldn't make it happen on the hit scan. Vintage was winning every duel. So you know what you do? Put Hedwig on the Sombra. Make it so Vintage cannot have that same impact. Give your team a direction, a target to go after, and make it easier for themselves. They simplified the game to a point that it's just a blink of an eye. It was almost like muscle memory for them to continue collapsing. Their ultimate management was almost perfect. It's just ISU Redbird Academy. They took so long to swap. Everything was against them. After that push map, after this Saravasa, you pick Gibraltar. We're like, what in the world are they thinking? But they pull it out in the most insane fashion ever. 4 back-to-back clutches where they were down at least 1 to 2 players at the start of every single fight is absolutely insane. And I gotta say, that is a pretty darn cool first win to have.
Couldn't agree with you more. The fashion in which this win came is going to be vindicating. This team is going to remember this win for a very long time. A rise in Vintage, just making huge clutch plays in the end to keep it alive. And Destiny was just that stalwart, just person there, holding it down, allowing the DPS to make the plays, not overexerting themselves, just like, okay, let me control the point and let my DPS make the plays. And that they did. As a reminder, this is how it went, folks. Reverse sweep was staunched. Redbirds Academy able to get their first win of the season. Congratulations to Redbirds Academy.
What a game. I'm still feeling the whiplash from that. My heart rate, I literally had to look at my heart rate because I could feel it pounding in my chest. I'm sitting here, it's at 140. I'm into this game. This was an entertaining series that the Redbirds give us, and I'm sure that they are so excited to have that first win under their belts. I mean, they're an academy team, Ray, competing in Division 1 against a top 20 school. Northeastern made it close. Yeah, they found their second win with this brand new composition, but it does show that the flexibility, the infrastructure behind this Redbirds team is great, and it shows that nothing is impossible. I'm so excited to see where they go from here.
I am very excited as well. Before we go ahead and end the stream today, let's just give a recap of what we saw today. Game number 1, we had Thomas College Black going up against the New Haven Chargers, in which Thomas College just absolutely dominated on this Diva Farah venture of all things, and just, it wasn't even close. The Thomas College was just dominating.
I mean, Killer, teach me your ways. How do you do this? How do you do this so dang well? I mean, Thomas College, a near shutout. I think New Haven Chargers had 2 team fight wins over the course of the entire series. At some points, like, it just seemed that the Terriers were one step ahead at every turn. They knew how to play the composition and well synergized all the meanwhile. We go from that type of gameplay in Division 3. Pretty stompy for sure, but pretty clean nonetheless. We move into this series, which we just thought ISU Redbird 3-0, not a doubt. They find themselves on Esperanza for the second time, and it so happened to be the turning point of the last 5-map series that they played, and that's what it was for Northeastern. A second chance, a new way to try playing Overwatch into this academy team, but it never got all the way there. After one of the best defenses I think I've ever seen on Gibraltar followed that into an attack, they beat Northeastern at their own game. And like, Ray, collegiate Overwatch can never disappoint. We always get such good matches on here, and I'm so grateful that NECC is broadcasting them.
I couldn't agree with you more, Tiny. Like, I kid you not, like, I might be messaging our group chat with all the casters and be like, you guys need to go back and watch Watchpoint Gibraltar. Yeah. Like, holy even cow. If you say, like, I don't have time to watch the series, go back and watch Watchpoint Gibraltar. Like, that was absolutely just insane clutch. Both teams put their heart and soul into the series, and unfortunately for Northeastern, they couldn't get the dub, and feels good for Redbirds Academy, man, because given they're an academy team in Division 1, to be honest, wins are probably going to be far and in between. For them to get a big win like this is going to be a huge boost to their morale.
Yeah, and this is a team that can go the distance and can go far. And just imagine what having a win under their belts, what that is going to do for them. And big things to come from that direction. And same from Northeastern. Like, there weren't necessarily big flaws in their gameplay. They were just getting individually outmatched at points. They found ways to overcome it, but then once the mirror match happened again, it was those individual matchups that told the difference. This is a team that knows how to play team Overwatch, and I think that's what made this series so incredible. Is you have 2 squads that can fight back to back and toe to toe, and it was very, very entertaining. But unfortunately, Ray, all good things must come to an end, such as our NECC Overwatch stream today. We're going to close it out for the rest of the weekend. To all of my fellow university students on there, I know it's midterms week, so make sure you take the weekend, rest up, get some studying in, and we can go ahead and get you back for some more NECC esports beginning on Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Shout out to Hippie and Carol on the back of house today, and we'll go ahead and come back to you next Monday with the continuation of the NECC regular season.
Later, guys.